Come to your screen. All right, folks. So we're live today with JAWSGaming again to discuss some happier times in the Battlefield franchise, as well as the other relevant news of the day. So, as a palate cleanse before we begin, and as I wait for Ravenfield to load up in its glorious 2040 FPS, what is your opinion of Dollar Tree increasing its prices to $1.25?
I think it's a scam.
Think it's a scam?
I go to Dollar Tree to pay $1.25? Nah. Total scam.
I was talking I had a political journalist on my live stream yesterday, and I brought up the same question since he's a Dollar Tree enthusiast. He basically has the opinion that it's really just to pad the bottom lines, because most of the inflation has been in rent and used cars, not as much in actual household goods. So, I gotta say sorry to all the employees on r/Dollar Tree. You're not going to see any of that money.
No, you're not. Sorry, guys.
And here's the thing, though. Like, fast food places increasing wages, it's actually led to an improvement just by default. You want to know why? Here's an example. In near my house, there's a Crystal's location, and as we all know, at least those of us in Southeast, you get paid jack shit at Crystal's. It's like the lowest of the low fast food. You get paid jack shit. But they had to increase their wages to compete, and you know what? Just doing that, the service has improved like triple already.
Funny how that works, right?
Dude, it's amazing how like people actually care more when they get paid more, you know?
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought? You know, you get what you pay for. That's what all the business guys tell me. In my experience with sales, it seems to be what I've gathered. So wouldn't you pay for labor the way you'd want to receive it? You know, just throwing that out there.
You know, I'm just saying, it's like preach, but don't practice, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Have you worked in food service before, like a high school job or anything?
I worked at a movie theater, so some of the concession stand stuff, I got a little taste of it, but I wouldn't say it was fully to the level that some of these poor waiters and waitresses have to deal with.
All right, yeah. My personal experience was I worked for 7 months as a drive-through guy at my local Arby's, and then I worked like 3 months as a general service dude at a quick service, one of those between of sit-down but above fast food places nearby.
Yeah.
So
like a Panda Express or something.
It was like it was Corner Bakery Cafe.
Okay.
So, one of the things I've noticed is that both these places, the policy for like employees and food was that you basically get half off. But here's the curious thing. Okay, at Arby's we kind of abided by that, but at Corner Bakery, the managers basically just write everything off. You got whatever you wanted. The people will cook it up for you in the morning if you got your break if you managed to grab a bite to eat between the rushes, and you just leave, walk out, not have to pay it. So here's something I'd like to propose: is that I bet these fast food companies would probably have a lot less disappearing food if they actually had a functional free meal voucher system, right?
Right.
Because if you it's the psychology of it. If you work for a place and you go into it knowing that there's a standard where you can get free food off your employer, you'll follow it because you'll be happy to get free food. But if you're in this kind of scenario where you feel like, hey, I work for these people, I make them money, and I still got to pay half of it, you're not going to be incentivized to abide by everything. Just putting it out there.
This line. I see what you mean, man. I see what you mean.
To Crystal's credit, I think they actually did offer their employees like a free meals like along those lines. So maybe they're not the cheapo, but if they do it, what's your excuse?
Exactly. If Crystals can freaking do it, and they closed the freaking store that was in the booming part of town down here, I don't know how that ended up closing down, but they did. And if they can do that, oh man.
I low-key think COVID-19 saved Crystals. Here's my theory. I'm not going to go conspiracy, but okay, we know I eat there because used to eat there quite a bit, and I still kind of do because it's the cheapest fast food and within walking distance. But before the pandemic, they were literally in bankruptcy for like the third time. literal bankruptcy. But here comes COVID-19. It's an excuse to close down your dining room and force everything to a drive-through, which means no more money on utilities for that, no more upkeep money. You can have fewer staff. Like, you have everyone queued up to get their food fast, which means you can more efficiently serve. And they've obviously raised their prices and they can pay their workers. I got the feeling, and they're doing, more food promotions. I think the pandemic saved them. Like Sonic.
Way to go, pandemic. COVID saved Crystal. I mean, is that really a good thing, though? Do we need Crystal?
I think competition is good, especially in markets like these. But, I'm just...
That's true.
You gotta admit, if you really think on its face of like the one fast food chain pandemic would save, it's either like Crystals or Hardee's. You know it was going to be like one of those places.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The C tier fast food.
It's a double negative scenario.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Okay. Before we dive into the meaty bits, remember our prior conversation on naval warfare in Battlefield?
Yes, I do remember that.
So Modder in Ravenfield is undergoing testing with their new naval assets, and they've even released a test map.
Nice.
So this is going to be
nice.
A showcase of stuff I think you and I would both love to see in the future of the franchise.
Indeed.
Hey, I'm actually getting 100 FPS in the menu. I wonder if that actually means anything or not. Jeez, man, I don't understand gaming laptop CPUs. They're just on a whole other level of jank. It's like high-cost jank, but still jank.
Yes, absolutely. I do still love the loading screen art. I love how, like, it's just so rudimentary, but it feels so right for the setting.
Before the loading screens, I think they had, like, some dude, a 3D model of one of the soldiers swimming in the air and another just walking around. Okay, let me go find them. Let's see. I think you're going to be quite pleased by what you see with this. And, Yep, there we go. A nice 40 FPS.
Oh, I love it.
When you can get like on 90 easy on like 25 watts, but Streamlabs loves the power.
Oh, Streamlabs. Honestly, if you use regular OBS, I'm pretty sure regular OBS is
a lot less.
better
I'm
optimized.
going to switch to it eventually. I'm going to probably switch to that and start doing recording because I didn't even know regular OBS was a thing until like I saw it on Mudahar's channel.
Yeah, no, regular OBS is nice. Plus, if you had any overlays, you can copy them over from Streamlabs to regular OBS.
Yeah. Okay, so we got guided missiles. You can set a manual reticle and they'll go towards them. We got damage control. You basically hold it, repairs the ship. You got your cannons. You got lock-on, fire and forget anti-ship missiles, and there's even a submarine. If I pull up the map, can't see it right now.
I mean, it looks really cool. It looks really fleshed out.
Basically, one dude on a game, modding a game that's also basically made by another dude. I get the feeling, and I think recently there was a release of a new early access game called Tiny Combat Arena that's kind of like this with more emphasis on vehicles. I think we might be in a renaissance of offline military shooters and experiences.
I think so too, as more people realize how douchey people really are online.
Dude, and look, online constraint.
Just don't want to deal with it.
Look, I'm fond of playing for games that have are fully multiplayer if I get a good value of it, but let's be real, you're not paying for a game, you're paying for an event ticket. A glorified event ticket. Because when those servers die, you got nothing.
Yes. 1,000%.
I mean, look, the Division 2, that's basically what's going to happen in a few years. I got like 500 hours in that game, so I'm not going to be choking up, especially since it only cost me $12 with sales, but it's got a limited lifetime.
Yes.
There we go, oh shoot, I should not have reset mine.
This looks really it's like borderline World of Warships.
So they've made World War II battleships before that were part of a discontinued modules, and they played just like a World of Warships. So yeah, we got the Commander cruise missile from Battlefield 4, sort of. Let's see if we can get a hit. I've managed to get manual hits with the cruise missiles before. It's just that it's kind of janky to know where you should actually aim. And there we go.
That's so cool.
I'm going to switch to damage control for the moment. So it looks like we got a hit with that manual guided cruise missile. This is one of those things I'm never going to show my dad, not because like it's sexually explicit or awkward, but because this was literally his job when he was in the Navy. I don't want to like trigger an episode. Okay, so now we got to see if the trees don't block our hawk. I think the Corvettes. So this is a destroyer, which is large class, but they have Corvettes, which I think have torpedo tubes.
Torpedoes are so fun. In games.
The submarine here actually has like a variable depth control, so you're not stuck with just hitting a button to descend and that big hit.
So actually, pretty versatile with it.
If there is, you can see the periscope of the enemy submarine right there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Get him! No! He went under.
Submarine. Okay, no, it's the cruise missile that got him. Okay, let's see. Now I'm being locked on by something. I can't tell what it is. It's probably, oh yeah, there it is. That was definitely an anti-ship missile. And they still got a lock. And I'm out of, I'm basically out. There's no, wait. There we go, countermeasures just came in. So that's, I think, the sonar decoy and chaff. Let's see, we got another cruise missile, so I'll follow up with that.
That is, I mean, this is really impressive how much they seem to have added.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the best part of Ravenfield is honestly the modding community, because the developer creates a framework and everyone else just adds in the wild stuff like this.
I mean, it's just really cool that this is even a thing.
This game costs like $17 normally on Steam, but I managed to get it for like on sale at around $11. It's probably some of the best $11 I've spent, because any sort of battle you want, you could probably find the assets to put together. So this is kind of like poor man's offline Battlefield 4, but with a lot more assets and a lot less cost.
Yeah.
There we go.
A lot easier. Have you seen BattleBit?
I mean, my friend wants me to get into it. I'm gonna look into it in a bit. I've heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of people have been hyping it up. A lot of people have been hyping that one up.
I mean,
I might be looking into that myself.
Yeah, me, I'm going to try and, honestly, I don't know. I think I'm going to be busy and nothing up with other games for the moment. I'm going to try to get back into Squad, too, since I was playing that for a while.
Yeah.
But, I mean, okay, let's see. Who knows, maybe when this releases, this might draw me in full time.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot to this.
This is basically one map, and it's not even like full assets. So the plan, I think, is to have separate maps and vehicle packs, so we can use these on any map that will accept. Basically, has enough water depth to work with it.
Yeah.
And I think this runs on the newest version, and I got okay. So that's always one of the funky things is. If you got more AI than seats, that's kind of what happens. Here, I gotta go ham something on my phone real fast. I'll be right back.
All right.
Oh shit! Wait, what is? Okay.
Oh no, the anime girls got you. They killed you from the island.
All right, I'm here. So I guess now it's appropriate to begin the full transition to discussing historical battlefield elements, and I'd like you to go first, starting with Battlefield 1. What you like about it, what you'd like to see in future games, what kind of time range historically best apply to?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Battlefield 1 nailed more than anything. Everyone talks about the atmosphere, but nobody talks about what makes the atmosphere. And I think a big part of that is the environmental storytelling and just the actual storytelling they would do before a multiplayer match. I think it not only adds to just the general atmosphere, but it adds a level of stakes to what you're fighting for. And while, there's of course some players out there that don't care if it's gray box, they'll still just go and play the objective just because they enjoy shooting at things. But I think for your general player, if you're going to have this all-encompassing, you're going to fill the plate up with everything, I feel like that's such an essential part of building an atmosphere. And Battlefield 1 did that because, of course, number one, World War I speaks for itself, but the way that they went in and made it to where you get to hear from the soldiers who are about to fight this particular battle, and you hear from each side depending on the side you're on. So you always had a sense of which side you're on, as well as why you're in the place you're fighting at, what the fight is about, and what the stakes are that are there. I think it nailed that more than anything. It added emotion to the fighting. It added stakes to it. You got invested into winning or losing this particular match because, of course, you want your team to win. But now it's more than that. Now you want to win because, I want the British to beat the Germans this time. Things like that. I think that's one of the more overlooked aspects of it all. A lot of people just say atmosphere, but I think that's really what BF1 nailed about its atmosphere, because other games have good atmosphere. Battlefield 3 had good atmosphere, but it didn't quite hit that note of atmosphere.
So really an emphasis on the cinematic elements, you would say?
Yeah, to an extent. Just blending the narrative into the fighting. Give me a purpose for being at this location, I think really added to it. And of course, you saw aspects of that narrative on the maps. When the Germans talking about the Americans being fresh on the front lines of Ballroom Blitz and how they've been digging trenches through their friends' dead bodies for years now. And then you go into the match in the first sector of operations as the Americans coming out of fresh trenches and the Germans are inside defending these just obliterated, muddy, old trenches. It adds to that story. You experience what they were talking about, and it's consistent. If that makes sense. That's a really specific detail, but
no, it's
I hope that's a good example.
Specific works because one of the things I've been thinking on that from a gameplay perspective that we really felt lacking in Battlefield 1.5 was the helicopter and bomb. And I know I've brought this before, but I'd really like to home in on this point, is that I think DICE made a mistake by restricting the use of airships in Battlefield 1 to just a Behemoth and DLC vehicles, because I think having airships available as a consistent vanilla vehicle would have cut down on all the bomb spam we saw, at least in Battlefield 1.
Yes, I definitely agree. I think helicopters are essential to the Battlefield gameplay loop. It was a couple days after the first time we had a discussion like this on one of these streams. One of the former devs, who's with a different studio now, was talking about that. He was like, what if we did put helicopters in Battlefield 1? How would you guys have felt? And basically what I told him, I was like, I think helicopters are essential to Battlefield, but I think if you're trying to sell me World War I, you can't really do it in that setting. Sure, there's experimental ones, but of course you can't do that. And I think we saw how essential helicopters and things were, because you kind of had to balance airplanes to make up for that, but that ultimately just dumbed down a lot of the skill required to fly in the game, because you had to have something that could harass infantry and be something that acts as close air support. But there was a lot of times where it was just a little too powerful, and we still see that with things like the Ilya Miramets. That just decimates entire operations servers. Yeah. So whereas a helicopter, you can get in and out, it can act as a transport vehicle, which was really, the bomber in Battlefield 1 could have been sort of like sometimes people used it as one, but it couldn't really get in, drop troops off, and then get out in a very kind of tight manner, the same way that a transport helicopter can.
Indeed.
So,
one thing I would like to point out, I guess, with Battlefield 5, or at least not so Battlefield 5, but the next World War II Battlefield, I think people should give it some leeway that includes helicopters, because there's a lot of helicopters. Well, helicopters were kind of concurrent with World War II. They're mostly in reconnaissance and transport roles, but I think if DICE is willing to stretch things a bit, they probably could find a way to get them in. Especially, I mean, and the thing is, they'd have to stretch history a lot less than they would with Battlefield 1 and 2, with Battlefield, any future World War II Battlefield, because, I mean, a lot of American helicopter designs that are from, like, Vietnam stuff really came out in, like, 1946, 1947, you know?
right.
So for something that's really... Go ahead.
I was going to say, plus they already had a helicopter in Battlefield 5. They just kept it a Firestorm. Yeah.
I mean, okay, they had a Colibri and an amphibious boat. I mean, an amphibious car in Firestorm that they just ignored, basically, in the main game, which is... I'm not going to say I'm really super tilted, but it's puzzling.
Yeah, it just seems like it's free content and vehicles to add to the main game. Especially, I mean, the boat car seems like it would have been iconic if you put it in the main game. I feel like that would have just added such a fun Battlefield-esque element to the regular multiplayer. Not that it does anything that special, but it's just like, hey, it's a boat car. I'm gonna drive it in the water because why not?
Tractor, right? People love the tractor, and it was only on one map.
Exactly.
Or two.
Exactly.
But, you know, look, if people can have fun with a tractor that's only seats one person, they can have fun with an amphibious car.
Absolutely, and the helicopter. I do think at that point of how goofy they went with World War II, they should have just brought the helicopter into multiplayer. And it seated like 5 or 6 people, I think. So you can get a squad and a half on that thing. You'd be golden. Golden.
One thing I want to point out, I guess, is that, well, if we're going to just bring up atmosphere in general, as a part of things, I guess with Battlefield 5, it's really interesting to watch the atmosphere evolve in the games, throughout the game's life cycle. Because, now, look, I'm going to be adamant that I think a lot of the initial hate Battlefield 5 got was, and I won't say that, I think a lot was motivated by non-ideal reasons, if I will be euphemistically speaking. Not that there weren't development issues with the game, because there were, but, you know, when you're screaming about women and minorities in game, when you're screaming about women and especially minorities in a world war where most of the people who died were minorities, it's going to be, at least in the United States, you know, like, relative to the United States and Iraq company, it's kind of tone deaf at best, and especially when it's a video game. Right. But, okay, enough of that. Yeah, I mean, you probably get the point.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
With vanilla Battlefield 5, it almost gave up a sort of punk rock interpretation of a hardcore Battlefield game. And now that I've had time to, like, kind of process things, I gotta admit, I kind of like it, you know, for what it is. It's not, if you're looking for, like, Brothers in Arms 3, or 4, rather, which I really hope they release. Gearbox, get on that. It's not Brothers in Arms, it's not the old school CODs, but if you think about it, it's a really cool, it's like a really unique punk atmosphere that you don't see a lot in historical shooters, and I do think to some extent it was a pretty good experiment. Now, the reason it was like that was because they basically had no finished assets or an authentic uniform, as in the so-called reveal trailer is basically a CGI render of stuff they didn't even have in development.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's interesting.
Why communicate with the team?
Dude, I mean, yeah. But then, of course, nowadays, like, especially towards the end life cycle, they got basically into the typical World War II shooter vibe, and Pacific was really good in terms of, like, striking all the right notes, because it's, I don't know, I guess, what's your perspective on the kind of atmosphere a World War II game in the future in the franchise should try to aim for, now that we've seen Battlefield 5 basically go through all possible iterations of a historical shooter's atmosphere?
Well, I think the Pacific really did a great job, in my opinion, because I think a lot of the cosmetics that they went for, aside from a couple of, you know, interesting ones, but it wasn't that often in the Pacific, they were mostly grounded in reality, and that's what I really wanted from Battlefield 5 from the start. Instead of these Cold War era cosmetics and these canvas looking uniforms and the team colors, like you have this bright green canvas uniform for the British and you have this bright almost Confederate gray for the Germans, just did not really look right, and it just doesn't strike you as World War II. Whereas once you get to the Pacific, everything feels a little bit more authentic. And not even that you have to stay 100% to history. Just make me believe that it's World War II. Yeah. At the very least, that's it. I mean, I can look at it and identify that it's World War II, which is one of the biggest complaints, at least for me, about the reveal trailer. You just, sure, there was that steampunk vibe, and you know, I know you said it kind of grew on you, but I think for a lot of people that was the big turnoff. It was like,
no, there's no
this isn't World War II.
This like everyone basically the last major World War II gaming experience I think most people have had before that was like the last Brothers in Arms game or COD game or COD World at War. So yeah, going from that.
Well, plus. I was gonna say, plus coming off of Battlefield 1, which was really, really about immersion, was a shock, I'm sure.
It's an understatement. So
yeah,
received a lot of, in my opinion, unfair grief, but there's no denying it wasn't exactly what people were looking for. And
yes, absolutely.
And one of the things I guess I want to point out is that I think, given. Now, with fresh of those, I think Battlefield 5, if you get rid of things like the heavy attrition and non-regenerating health, because if Battlefield 3 works with it, then any game can, I think it has a lot of the fundamentals we'd like to see in a future historical Battlefield game for either any of the World Wars or early. What's your opinion of that?
I think there are some things that I would like to see from that game if we're going for another historically set game. I do think that a steampunk vibe can work in, say, a Cold War Gone Hot game, because number one, you're going for essentially what would be multiple eras of military history, so you can do all kinds of different things. Again, if you're doing like Cold War Gone Hot type of deal, which I think would be the last kind of ideal historically set game you could go with that isn't a world war. You could get a little crazy with it, whether it's, leftover World War II stuff, whether it's more of the 80s type of gear. You start to get into more of the fancy cosmetics. You can even have crazy attachments on some World War II era stuff, act like it was kind of jam modded on there out of desperation of the kind of conflict it was. So I think that steampunk vibe can kind of work in a future historically set title. It would just have to be something like a Cold War Gone Hot, or like maybe a more expanded take on either Korea or Vietnam or something like that, where you can get a little bit wackier with the cosmetics. Of course, those would have their own unique vibes to them, but I think those kinds of things could open up a lot more possibilities. I definitely think some of the way that teamwork was implemented can work. I think 5 does overdo it a little bit, but otherwise it has a lot of really good teamwork features to it that are uniquely Battlefield, of course. A lot of good quality of life stuff. I like the health auras, the ammo auras, where you can just kind of be near the box. You don't necessarily have to just run up to someone, pick it up, and you can grab it off of teammates. That was really clutch. That's only ever been in, I think, Battlefield
Hardline
5 and Hardline. Yeah, just those two. I mean, there was some good stuff in that game. Obviously, I think we both have our criticisms of it. I think a lot of people do, but it did do some good things. I think there are aspects of it that are worth taking into other games. I think if you're going to risk it all on a sort of more edgy, experimental take on a historical event, I think you need to take advantage of some of those experimental items, which 5 didn't really do outside of Firestorm. So going back to like the helicopter, like it'd be cool to see some experimental helicopters. It'd be cool, if they added an ME-262 jet fighter in a game. I don't know how they'd balance it, but it'd be freaking cool. Stuff like that. If you take that idea of experimental stuff, apply it to a Battlefield game. I mean, imagine some of the cool nuclear, like Fallout-esque stuff you could have in a Cold War Gone Hot Battlefield game. That would be almost like a Final Stand DLC sort of vibe. Just go all in with that and just have, I don't know, you could have mini nukes and stuff, or certain sandboxy weapons you could pick up that were experimental or of Cold War mythos. I think you could really do a lot of cool stuff.
I'm so glad you brought up that and Final Stand, because I know over Discord we both kind of agreed that Battlefield 5 is the closest we want to get to a Fallout multiplayer game, essentially a pre-war Fallout game. But another thing is that Battlefield 3 had basically what was Endgame. Battlefield 4 had Final Stand. Battlefield 1 had Apocalypse. Like, these 3 games that were kind of considered the greats all had a tie-up DLC that really pushed the boundaries of the technology and the gameplay loops of the game, in addition to having a fantastic atmosphere. But we never really saw that with 5 because of the premature end of development, where they basically threw in the last of the stuff they had ready to go, and that was it. You could almost say that in some ways Battlefield 5's atmosphere developed on the opposite path of most Battlefield games, you know? Where 3 and 4 and 1 all kind of are consistent with the setting, but then kind of make it zany at the end.
Right. 5 was like, fuck it, let's do it from the start.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, like, there was a lot of really unique 1950s stuff because like back in the 50s, they were just figuring out how to make a lot of these technologies viable. And look, man, I'd like to have the chance to shoot nuclear artillery shells at Nazis. Like, who wouldn't, right?
Yeah,
Something
of course.
like that in in a future World War II Battlefield game.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, now, one thing I guess, yeah. So, and I want to say this: that I think honestly, of the current Frostbite between Battlefield 1, 5, and 2042, I think it's 5 that has the best team play. Albeit it's kind of necessary, but going back and playing these games, like, the amount of collaboration I experienced at 5 is just unparalleled.
Yeah, I agree. It's you really do get revived a decent amount. Of course, there's some good memes of people. Well, maybe not good memes, but there's definitely some memes of people that just ignore you.
I get ignored a lot less than 5. Let's just say that much.
Yeah, the medics are pretty darn good in that game. And of course, if they don't work out, you can always take it into your own hands. Which is a good thing, in my opinion. I think those features, being able to grab stuff off people, I do think that you should be rewarded as a support or medic player who is running a crate. At least give people points because they're running that. That's still teamwork. You just maybe don't have time in that situation to actually get it out and drop something if you're mid-firefight or you're reviving someone. I feel like that was a little messed up not to reward people with points for doing that, but I guess I get what they were doing, trying to encourage more team play.
Yeah. I guess our conclusion so far is that we need to see a future historical shooter kind of simultaneously maintain an atmosphere that's appropriate for the phase of the game, while still finding ways to retain a lot of the gameplay functions from prior Battlefields that worked. I guess it might initially seem like contradictory, but there are ways to do it that we kind of discussed. So,
right.
Now I want to move on to looking forward. If we're going to have a future World War Battlefield game, which setting should they go to first, and how, and what would the gameplay be like, and what would you include in it? And I want to have this tied with our discussion of classes and cosmetics, but let's just start with this initial premise.
Ooh, that is an interesting premise.
I know this is going to sound too much like armchair developer stuff, so we know. We're aware this is just spitballing here, just to get some conversation going.
So we're talking just either of the two world wars, but not like a World War III type of thing.
Not something like 83 or so. Just let's stick with the world wars for the moment, because I think a lot of people are kind of disappointed that 5 didn't have as much of the World War II feeling. And that 1, obviously, as we just outlined, has a lot of areas to explore.
Yeah. I think it's tough to really say which one they will go with. I think World War II offers a little bit more freedom in terms of what you can do. You're going to have to stretch some things, of course, to get everything out of it. But I think that's much more doable. And I think there's much more of an all-around experimental World War II, like Nazi technology and stuff, as opposed to World War I, which, of course, had its stuff. But maybe it wasn't as advanced as, the Germans were developing nukes and long-range bombers and things like that. That's, of course, going to grab more people's attention. So I think World War II could be more appealing in that way. I think, again, it offers more in terms of just the scope of the war, the locations you can go to. Not that World War I is limited in locations, but I think World War I's limitations come with its selection of vehicles and gadgets and weapons and things like that. And I think that's why we saw a lot of the limitations that we did in Battlefield 1. I think they could have done a better job with being able to open up some of those limitations. I think things like the gunplay were a little rough around the edges, but they're kind of trying to give you that vibe of, oh, it's World War I. The recon class is going to be powerful because, most people had bolt actions back then. It was just the standard issue rifle, and they went more along those lines. They could have gone other ways, in my opinion, but it just, World War II offers so much more that World War I can't. And I think that's a general consensus for people to just study history and why World War II is just more interesting. I think that's just a general consensus in entertainment. World War I's absolutely interesting. Don't get me wrong. It just has a far more interesting big brother that is much larger and more expansive. And I think that's, again, why World War II is the ideal one. But in gaming, you have this unique problem where every idiot for the last decade who's tried to make a World War II game has wanted to put their own taste on it, and it's been terrible, like Call of Duty Vanguard, like Call of Duty World War II, like Battlefield 5, like numerous other titles that have come out for quite a while now. And, I think it sucks because the setting is awesome, but I think a combination of those games being disappointing and people who grew up coming more into the gaming sphere over the past decade, seeing those disappointing titles, probably think World War II sucks without fully knowing everything that goes into it, which also sucks. So could they go back to World War I because that's the last time that they had success with a Battlefield game? Potentially. It would not surprise me entirely if that type of a thing happened. Try to do something that is faithful to Battlefield 1, but introduce some new fronts, like see the Russians fight the Turks, things like that. I could see that potentially happening. I don't know how excited a bunch of people would get to revisit that unless it was basically like a Battlefield 1 remake or something. It feels like a one-time kind of deal with World War I. I don't know how else you could do it. Battlefield 1 just kind of hit the sweet spot of being able to do it right, and I don't know that they can do it again. Clearly, they can't do Battlefield 4 right, and modern's got to be way easier than a historical setting. So, I would lean more World War II. That's what I would want to see, and that's what I think would come out.
Yeah, that's fair.
So.
I mean, I'm going to center, and I say I think just because of the marketing and trying to capitalize on it, they're probably going to go with World War I. But I wouldn't really know how it's going to play because it's Battlefield 1 hit its specific niche really hard, so I'm not sure how willing they are to diverge from that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
One, as I brought this up before, one, I think, avenue that I think DICE should explore, and I think EA should explore in the upcoming Battlefield universe is Hardline 1937, or 1937, God, not when that World War II actually began, but, Hardline 1930, I can't say 34 because that's a hard. When did Prohibition begin?
I think it was in the 30s,
Yeah.
20s and 30s.
Hold on, I'm gonna use Wikipedia real fast. I'm sorry.
Do it, man. Do what you gotta do.
Because let's see, 1920 to 1933. Okay, there we go. Hardline 1922. You know what? They should do that, right? Because here's why. You get a spin-off that focuses on the historical stuff, but you explore both the cops and robbers concept, which I think died prematurely, and you get people back into some of the historical Battlefield 1 tier stuff that they're missing out on. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't want to one-up you or anything, but I just have a larger idea. Okay, so obviously the 20s was Prohibition and everything like that. You could do that, but think of it as like almost an add-on, like an infantry-focused add-on of a potential Cold War game, like the Mafia in the 50s and 60s. Get into some crazy stuff with that. The rise of like the new age, I guess you could say, like hippies and stuff. Maybe not that far, but like kind of the 50s mafia kind of deal. I don't know. Is that a thing? I don't know if that's a thing.
I think it's some presence, I think.
You could do it as like an add-on to a Cold War Gone Hot thing, but make it just like this crazy infantry-only type of deal. Maybe the American mafia is fighting the Russian mafia, or you could just have an Italian team and an Irish team. I don't know. You could really get wild with it, though. I don't know that they'd want to do that.
Yeah. I guess,
as an alternative to cops and criminals, which I'm sure is not very popular at the moment.
I think Hardline was kind of a marketing misstep. I think that's really what killed, not the concept, because people, like expectations and other things. But okay, but no, it's, you know, I'm glad you brought up the thing, like the concept of like add-ons or a side content for eras, because do you remember when Battlefield 1 was coming out and they're hyping up this Battlefield UI integration where you can launch all your Battlefield games off the same screen?
Yes, I remember that.
And obviously how they basically did not pursue it past Battlefield 5's marketing content.
Yes.
I would like to bring this up because I'm wondering, in going forward in Battlefield, like for the moment, let's not talk about the games. What kind of mechanics and systems should they introduce franchise-wide for player retention? And then I like to bring up the MMO example. What kind of refinements should they do to the back-end systems and player experiences on that front to improve things? And again, this is, I know, r/armchair game design, but, you know, just spitballing again.
Yeah. I mean, I did like the idea of being able to switch between the games really quickly. I have a feeling that the whole Battlefield universe thing was kind of setting up 2042 to kind of be this baseline thing, almost like what Modern Warfare was for Warzone. I think that was the general idea. But how far they would want to go with that, you'd almost... I mean, you could have something similar to Portal. That would obviously be ideal, but I don't know if they could really pull it off on a grand scale. Plus, you'd have to find some way to have a progression system that feels rewarding. And when you're going across various games and various eras, especially games that people have already played and put tons of hours into, like, how do you implement a true progression system there? It'd be very interesting how they could do it. I'm not really sure how feasible it'd be. Like, almost the way that they had it connected before just worked because you had your individual games with their individual progressions and everything. But if you wanted something that was a little bit more centralized, you just, you know, it's one tap and it's all at your fingertips. I mean, again, I go back to an idea that's like Portal. Maybe you separate the different eras and everything, and you have to unlock things via each faction and each era, and kind of maybe particular add-ons focus on a certain part of time, whether it's modern, World War II, and whatnot, whatever it is. There's definitely ways they could do it. I'm not sure that they could do it. Is really the main thing, I guess. Again, Portal is the way they should do it if they decide to do it, or something Portal-like at least. I don't know that Portal being attached to 2042, if it's even worth taking into the future or starting over. But then would they start over? Because I mean, who really wants anything associated with 2042 from a marketing perspective? That would suck. If you're a marketer, you're just like, oh well, this game flopped horribly. Why would I want anything to do with that game? Just no one likes it. I think that's a stupid way to go about marketing, but I mean that is how they do it in some capacity.
Yeah. I think going forward, well, I mean, honestly, we don't really know anything about the Battlefield universe as it's going to be implemented. Because we only know basically the industry heads, who I believe are good, capable people. I think with them, there's reason to be optimistic. But, principally because it's not being headed by DICE management.
Right.
But I think, I don't know. There are a lot of things narratively that, obviously no one really considers Battlefield for the narrative, but there's so many interesting narrative bits they've done in the past that I wonder if they really care about those or if they're going to try to do a reset, because we know Sulis is one example I am curious about. The Firestorm organization from Battlefield 5. Is that going to fit into the Battlefield universe? Do they even care about the historical battlefields? How is that going to, all that stuff?
Nah. Gotta kick out anything related to BF5, man. If it did poorly, we can't act like it existed ever.
The funny thing is, they actually replaced 2042's logo with Battlefield 5's logo in the investor call promo art, I think.
Wow.
So maybe it's perhaps it was treated too harshly.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I want to capitalize on this concept of Battlefield as an MMO instead of Battlefield as a shooter, because obviously in our discussion, in our pre-stream discussion, but I really think that should be the approach that the franchise planners take with that, or something that has a really competent multimedia tie-ins like Halo, because the design philosophy for player socialization in an arena shooter is so much different than it is for a large-scale shooter. I mean, take for example PlanetSide, right? That game has clan systems and a lot of system integration, but you don't really see that with Call of Duty. And Battlefield, being a lot more comparable, should really emulate those. Elder Scrolls Online got massive player battles, but it has integrated social systems. I think management needs to consider player scale. I mean, they're too focused on emulating successful shooters, but they should be more focused on emulating successful games that deal with large amount of players, like Destiny. Because I think a lot of platoons are basically dead right now, both because of lack of actual integration with the game and no server rental system. Because free servers and Portal is nice, but it's no substitute for actually having something running 24/7 on your own dime. And
absolutely,
I don't know what you say. I mean, I love, Call of Duty World War II. Everyone memes on that game, but I think one of the cool things they did was to have a Destiny-style player hub area. I think you have something like that. You can integrate it with a firing range, even though you could have it as an opportunity to basically let people show off their cosmetics. Because that's really why it was put in, but who says that can't be a feature for it to implement? And I think, going back on our points on, I know this kind of evolved back in 2042, but let's just say, for example, we have a Battlefield 1917, right? For whatever reason, maybe DICE decides to have it take place, does decide to implement a player house, so it's in the Netherlands. You're a mercenary in the Netherlands fighting, and and you go with a cosmetic system that lets you pick from both factions, at least doesn't restrict you as much. So you could be a mercenary who has a set of cosmetics for the Central Powers and the Entente, and you can choose to wear that with your dedicated character that you want to use for whatever class you're using. And strut around with your friends, matchmake from some paper menu they have set up there, go into the courtyard and do emotes in front of people. Don't see why that's not feasible, and it's obviously something that works in other games. I mean, talking about the Division 2, you know, sometimes you'll walk into that social hub and outside the white house, it's really rudimentary, but you can throw emotes in front of people and do matchmake on the laptop. And it's still a great way to get to tie into that, because, you know, I'm sorry, I guess I rambled on a bit.
No, I know what you mean, and I agree with you. I thought that's what the Exodus was going to be.
Same.
When that was introduced, I was like, oh, this is great. This is going to be like a mobile hub. We can hook up with our other specialists here and do like cool little experiments before we go into battle, see what loadouts we want to run, stuff like that. It'd be great. And it turned out to be literally just a loading screen. Obviously, I'm sure you can hear the disappointment in everyone collectively at the same time.
Here's the thing, too. I'm sorry to interrupt, but look at the Division 2. This is a game that since March 2019 has had no subsequent content updates, even though there are some theoretically in the works. But people still play it. You want to know why? Because of the social integration.
Yes. They say it all the time. There's a guy who has like a 60-day thread of asking Battlefield about platoons on Twitter. And, you know, people want it. The huge reason that games like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 are still alive is because of platoons and people who get together with their communities and they run events and they have a good time. I mean, shoot, in the lead up to 2042, we were running events on Battlefield 4 just to, you know, we'd get together with certain clans and organizations and we'd run events on there.
Yeah.
And stream it. And it was great. And that game was still alive because of that type of stuff. Not obviously just from us, but all kinds of other clans and platoons and things like that. It was awesome, and it's so cool that these games can be kept alive by that. But when you actively take that away, you're taking away so much from just not only the experience and the longevity of the game, which I'm sure they want to kill off so they can sell the next one, which they've in some ways said, some of the former devs. But you're also killing off the community, and you're preventing the community from, number one, some not even being formed, which doesn't make up for the ones that just naturally leave because, you know, they're growing up, they have different responsibilities and stuff. But it's preventing new ones from being formed to make up for that, which is a shame because Battlefield is about communities.
Yeah, there's such a disconnect with their understanding of the player base of the marketing staff, right? You can't decide for other people. It's the fundamental thing with human nature. And it's proven true here. You got tons of people still playing Battlefield 3, still Battlefield 4, still Battlefield 1 and 5. So here's the thing I would like to propose, is that maybe instead of trying to force everyone onto the next game and tailoring it for everyone, instead what you could try doing is building that game viable to your vision for it, but still finding ways that keep, I'll put it this way, a whole Battlefield approach, right? You don't have full development teams on 1 and 5 anymore, especially not 3 and 4, but you try to find ways where they fit into the ecosystem, where you're not penalized for playing those games. You can still get new cosmetics on occasion or social integration across the franchise. Like, the fact that people are so dedicated to even these past games shouldn't be something, a bad thing. It should be, like, if anything, a proof of the viability of the franchise, because if these people are still playing these games, that means you can still profit off them. Why go through all the work of trying to force them into a new game? You can find easy ways, and believe me, there are easy ways to make money off these people dedicated to these games. That's what I don't get. And here's the thing. If they play their own game, look, so these people decide they don't like the game style, whichever game this is, whichever game is that, that's fine. Because if they're playing the game they like, they're not going to be playing the other game and constantly whining about it. Just going to make your job in marketing a lot easier too. You know?
Yep. Well, I mean, the easiest thing to do if you want people to not play the previous game and continue making money off of them is make a good new game.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of focusing on just player retention and how can we make sure that they come to the next game and not stay at the old one. How about make a better game than the last one? How about that? I think I just sounds pretty basic to me. And hey guys, let's make sure we making a good. It's kind of like winning in sports. Winning solves all your problems. If you make good shit, it solves all your problems. Easy peasy. I mean, obviously, easier said than done. But in general, if you focus more on just making a good game than a money milker, you'll make money. They'll get off the old games and they'll come to your new game. They'll have more players, more popularity. I mean, shit. As much things are wrong with Call of Duty, Warzone has been just masterful in terms of how, I don't want to say how they've handled it. Again, they've had issues with it, and it's a lot of it has come down to it being mainly for Modern Warfare and just being built on top of without really being purpose for that.
The thing
but
is,
they made a good game, and people supported it.
Yeah, exactly. You want to know why Warzone succeeded? It's because when the developers introduced the massive player count, they actually thought in terms of massive player count. They thought about it in terms of how you could market it, what the backend systems would be, how you could try to manage the player socialization for it. I get the feeling too much with DICE nowadays. It's kind of like they're treating Battlefield's player interaction systems as large-scale Call of Duty, large-scale arena shooter.
Right.
And look, I'm with the Battlefield universe, I think is their opportunity to kind of go for the whole Battlefield franchise approach. But we'll see. So now I guess I want to go on our last topic for at least the historical segment. I want to ask you, why is this not launching? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Your opinion on classes and cosmetics going forward in the franchise, in any historical shooter. What do you think is the best approach for that context, and what game do you think you'd like to emulate? What model?
Well, I think Battlefield 1 had the best class balance overall. I would say BF1's a good one to try and emulate. If you're going for a historical battlefield, I mean. I think there was a little bit more potential with, bringing engineers into the mix as a class, but obviously that was kind of divvied up between support and assault. So I can kind of see, where that can be limiting with a certain setting. But I think you could do it with World War II, maybe more so than World War I, or, it's probably just really a name thing. I definitely think classes are essential to the Battlefield, the way you play the game. I mean, it's so much stuff breaks because of things like specialists and the lack of restrictions that they have. Because there's some good that comes with restriction. And we see that with 2042, how poor that has turned out. And I think we saw that even more in the last two games with the way that they implemented the aerial vehicles and really just vehicles in general. How instead of having each vehicle acting as rock, paper, scissors, anyone could just pick anything and then it was dog shit. And that's exactly what's happening with specialists. It's exactly what happened with the vehicles in Battlefield 1 and 5. There was no rock, paper, scissors. There was no role to fulfill. It was just kind of a shit show, crappy, low skill ceiling shit show. I mean, that's really the only way to describe it. They're essential, and they need to bring them back. And I'm already forgetting the second half of that question. What was the second half of the question?
Cosmetics.
It was classes? Cosmetics? Okay, cosmetics.
Because they're kind of integrated now in terms of the franchise.
Right. I know some people are begging for premium to come back. I'm not even going to entertain that thought. It's just not fucking happening. It's not. Whether you want it or not, whether you think it's better or not, it's not happening.
Yeah,
so I'm not even going to talk about that. That's a waste of a conversation. I think they're going to go probably lean more into the free-to-play stuff, and I think they're going to, of course, lean more into cosmetics, which, of course, if you go historically set, how do you properly do that? Well, Call of Duty seems to have figured it out, sort of, with Vanguard. I don't think, I don't think Battlefield should go to the extent of Call of Duty. I feel like Call of Duty is such a almost social phenomenon that they can do whatever they want. It doesn't really matter. I feel like Battlefield hasn't really reached that point as much as they want to act like they have.
I don't think it ever will.
It's too niche.
Call of Duty really is like minimum denominator market, right? Battlefield, even by virtue of basically owning like half a step above it, is still not going to have the same draw. It's like a Gaussian distribution in the market.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's too niche. It's too niche. It's not so niche like a Hell Let Loose or a Squad, but it's still niche enough that it's not going to hit that massively broad audience. Call of Duty's up there with like Madden and FIFA, where they can just shit out the worst possible product, like they did from 2014 to 2018, and they're still going to sell millions of copies, tens of millions of copies.
Exactly.
It's just it is what it is. It doesn't matter with them. They got so many people just addicted to it and Battlefield just isn't that. Battlefield takes a unique taste, and that's okay. These games, they should require some form of a unique taste. That just should be part of it. I think that keeps things unique as far as games go. Not having that unique taste would take away from it. So it's an interesting thing. I mean, what they could do with it, I mean, you kind of got to keep it grounded. And again, it goes back to what I think they should have done with Battlefield 5. Go with cosmetics that you see in the photos of the war. I think little things such as, like, there's this photo of a German soldier, I think he's in Russia or something, and you can tell he's in the cold, and he's got this kind of, like, paint over his face or blood or whatever it is. It looks like paint because it's black and white, but it just looks like dirt or paint all over his face. He's got the helmet with the little hoodie on underneath it, and you can tell he's just freezing his face off in Russia somewhere. And, you know, copy those kinds of things. There's so many pictures of different uniforms, different things guys were wearing during that war that you could sell so many just because of people who are interested in that kind of a thing, not to mention how many actually look cool. The way that camouflage was really just starting to be introduced in the different nations that wore it in different patterns, which were mixed in with the traditional kind of uniforms that they had. And, you know, some guys just had a camo top and standard bottom. Some guys had, you know, a full regalia, just all camo. There's so many different things, so many different forms of each uniform from throughout the conflict. If you're going for a World War setting, you could absolutely do it and sell cosmetics in a grounded fashion that look fucking badass. It's 1,000% possible. Again, just look at the photos. I mean, they had to have, because they had to do the photogrammetry and stuff for a lot of the stuff in the game. I'm sure they saw some pictures of guys in World War II, and I'm amazed none of them went like, hey, that looks cool. We should make that something in the game. That would not only sell the setting, but it looks fucking awesome. I would love to play as that guy. Or somebody similar, or put a couple pieces together from different ones that look cool. Like, you could totally do it in a really cool fashion that doesn't have to be so far in the realm of even Battlefield 5, and you also don't have to make it as restrictive as Battlefield 1. Now, there is a caveat to all this. Cosmetics also play a role in Battlefield's gameplay. So, Battlefield, from the start all the way up to Battlefield 1, each class had a distinct silhouette that you could identify so you knew who you were coming up against. This is sort of back with specialists, except you only know the one gadget and what they could potentially do. You have no idea what weapon they have or what their other gadget is, and it still fucking sucks in this game. But all the way up to Battlefield 1, you could identify what you're coming up against so that you knew how to approach a particular situation. Now, in Battlefield 3 and 4, you could, of course, change the camos. I didn't play the games before that, so you may have been able to change camos before that. But Battlefield 1, of course, you're kind of locked down to the one individual uniform that each nation had. I'm sure that felt restrictive for a lot of people, and that's why we saw what we saw with Battlefield 5. But regardless, class silhouettes, I think, are integral. So, like I thought they would do with 2042, before I knew it was even 2042, and what I think they could do in the future is you could sell the cosmetics that are almost adaptable onto the silhouettes of each class. So if you like a certain skin, you can form it onto that class, but that class is still going to have unique identifiers. So for example, a medic will have crutches or something, or something like the Red Cross thing on him. You have something like that. The support is going to be just covered in ammo belts. So whatever cosmetic you have underneath it, great. He's still covered in ammo belts. And that way you can identify each class from another, so you get the gameplay benefit, but you can still make them look the way that you want to. And it looks cool regardless, because it just does.
No,
So,
yeah, I think that's for classism, I think that's the ideal approach. And one thing I like to bring up is that there's a World War I game in development right now called Isanzo. And they are talking about featuring a really in-depth cosmetics system. And it's kind of, even from the footage there, really showcases all the interesting stuff you could have had even for a World War I game. So, I think, look, cosmetics are the main breadwinner now for games like this. There's no denying it. That's how it's going to be. I think going with having the atmosphere, or at least the authenticity design, especially in Battlefield 1, but having the deep personalization level of Battlefield 5 is the winning approach. Now, that doesn't mean I'm opposed to having some zanier cosmetics towards the end of the life cycle, right? Because, hey, I'm a big fan of Final Stand and Endgame, so you can have them with the end of the war, but I don't know. I just I don't understand why DICE looked at how much people at the end of the Battlefield 5's life cycle like the style of the cosmetics, how much choice you got, and then basically went with something that takes it all away.
yeah, it was weird. It was very weird.
But we're talking. I think. Do you have any other things you'd like to bring up with the Battlefield franchise?
I'm honestly, I'm worried about the franchise as a whole, because I don't know, like, how do you really come back from such back-to-back epic flops?
It's simple. You purge the management responsible, which I think they're doing.
I was a National Guard pilot.
Right, I think they're doing that too.
No, it's.
We're pressed for time, so listen up.
What do you come back with?
I think I'm not going to say Battlefield is too big to fail, but EA does have good marketing people within the company umbrella. I just think that, look, Battlefield 2042 is going to have a relaunch. That is a guarantee, because it worked for Battlefield 5 until they screwed it up.
Yes.
That's probably what they're going to do. Whether they do it with Season 1 or like Season 4, we don't know yet. And furthermore, what they do with now that they have all this FPS talent is a big question as well. But
they turned against
look,
us.
I think EA does want to remain. EA does want to have a dog in the military shooter market, even if it's not their biggest dog in the shooter market. They want to have something just so that COD doesn't sweep.
Here's the plan for
Right.
mercenaries right now.
Yes.
So no matter what, I'm just going to continue. But I'm wondering if we might see an emphasis on like side games, spin-off games, just because they might be feeling that the mainline franchise is no longer as viable.
Your objective today is
So
to take back the
but
base into
right now
Armageddon.
we are basically, we're not in a
will lead
news
aerial
desert
operations,
or a news
wiping
drought
out any anti-air
we're doing the
defenses.
franchise as a whole. We're
Circus,
in a
our
news
transport
black
aircraft carrying
hole.
Sicario's airborne troop element will then
Yes.
vector in and drop onto the base to secure it.
Yeah, we're down in the dumps. There's just nothing to say about it. I mean, you can get creative. I've seen it somewhat as a challenge to get creative with my content, but in reality, it's really just come out as complaining while dissecting the game because of how just genuinely baffling a lot of the design choices are. So, I mean, as a Battlefield creator, you just feel completely abandoned. Obviously, it's something bigger than any creators. They probably think, oh, we can always just get more, but it just sucks. There's just, what is there to say about Battlefield? It's almost like they want people to forget about it and then just come back with some whatever the fuck. And then it's like, oh, well, not enough people give a shit, so they can do whatever the fuck they want with it now. And turn it into something else and build with a different kind of community and different kind of identity. Obviously, I doubt this was intentional. I think it's just where they'll go from here, potentially. I mean, Assassin's Creed did it. Assassin's Creed Unity was such an epic flop. They're, yeah, fuck it, we're an RPG now. Yeah, suck on that one. Everything that defined the franchise before is gone. And no one cares enough to say anything about it except for the boomers that stayed around. So that's basically how I'm seeing it at the moment. I don't know. And it sucks because there's nothing else really like Battlefield on the market.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that it has a pretty decent chance of going down that path of just, people don't care anymore. They must not like it. They must not like Battlefield. Ignore the fact that we made shitty versions of it that had nothing to hardly do with what people wanted, but you know, that's not our problem. We're going to make Apex Field now. Congratulations.
I think, the leadership of the franchise needs a paradigm shift. So I get the impression that I don't think EA is keen on going on that direction. I mean, DICE management might, but I don't think EA is, because if they didn't see the value in retaining the old player base, they wouldn't have authorized port, and they wouldn't have really shaken up management. I think what we are seeing, though, like 24, 2, and 5, are the consequences of DICE's upper management being given too much free reign, right?
Yeah.
Looking at it, it just screams managerial incompetence. Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Even the new people at DICE are talented. They've played the past games. They know what works. EA obviously has a vested interest in making Battlefield a viable player, even if it's not their biggest dog in the FPS market. But things like reversing, or like the TTK change after the Pacific that basically killed any momentum 5 regained. Things like not emphasizing play testing enough in 24/2's development, or not delaying it long enough. Stuff like that can only have been determined at upper management level, right? And who,
Right.
So I think look, when leadership does bad stuff, this is just a general thing. It takes a long time for it to get fixed. Okay, it doesn't matter if we're talking about a manager at a chain restaurant or if we're talking about Trump. It's going to take a long time. It takes longer time to undo the damage than it does to cause it. This is what we're seeing. So even if EA gets all these top talent FPS people into leadership to basically overrule DICE leadership, which I think they are, it's going to take a long time for us to see the benefits of that. Now, does that mean the franchises that are on a dark path? I wouldn't necessarily say so, but I will say that when you're getting a crispy 40 FPS in a 64-player match, you're not going to be incentivized to be as attentive for the moment. Let's just say that much.
Yeah, no.
So, would you like to just
not
conclude?
quite.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, no, not quite. As far as being incentivized. Getting 40 FPS.
That I've been reading up on the PC optimization, and it's honestly terrible. I mean, look, I honestly am starting to get the feeling that like Battlefield games may not have always been the best CPU optimized in the first place, and just has a reputation of being CPU intensive as a side effect. But seriously, I don't want to hear anyone say that Battlefield is a CPU intensive game naturally until they optimize 24/2. Like, that is not on the table. They screwed the pooch here, okay? Do not use that excuse until it's actually like a reason.
Well, there's a difference in CPU intensive and holy shit, I can't even run it reasonably. You know?
It's like they built the entire thing on if-else loops.
Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense, especially because it's not like they haven't had games that were well optimized before.
Battlefront 2. Fantastic
shit.
optimization.
Yeah, so like what happened to that?
I think the developers went to another studio.
I mean, of course. Why are you chasing off that kind of talent?
Management, hey, management wants management's decisions to go through no matter what the peons say. And as long as the big suits don't hear about it, I'm happy. You know, that mentality.
Yep. Oh, yeah. You're 100% right.
So, I'd like to, I guess, if you're fine with it, I'd like to end our Battlefield discussions because for the time being, it's going to be angsty no matter what. I'd like to present some things in gaming. So I heard recently you managed to spend some time playing Project Wingman.
Yes. It is like the most chillax game ever. And it is gorgeous and has an amazing soundtrack. That is my overall analysis so far.
So what mission have you played up to?
I've only played the first couple, but it was just like, it was so zen. And like the controls feel great. I used the F4 Phantom for the first, I think it was the first mission. It's so smooth, like the flight controls. Like I just feel like wherever I want to go, it just very easily glides that way. Like it feels so good to fly in that game. There's not like any janky kind of, like you don't have to do these crazy hard turns or anything like that. It feels natural how fast or how slow the plane is going to turn. And I really like that. It feels almost like a ballet dance in the air, you know, when you're dogfighting and stuff. The missiles are stupid OP. I mean, you just lock on, all right, one tap, lock on, one tap.
Yeah, that changes.
So there's that. Yeah, I try to challenge myself with the guns just so I get a little bit better with the aiming and everything. But at first, yeah, it was definitely really easy to use the missiles. So I enjoy it. I'm going to play more of it when I get the chance, but I'm trying to steamroll my way through Horizon Forbidden West at the moment.
So how is it? I mean, I want to just start off like some clearing the air. I like Killzone, so I'm kind of salty that Guerrilla is ignoring it. But you know, please do continue about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Well, Zero Dawn was great, but Forbidden West is just, it's amazing. The side missions are on par, if not better, than The Witcher 3. Like, I'm talking full-on, detailed, intricate stories that an entire set of side quests will revolve around. Not just from one person, but several. Which is really cool, and it leads up to, like, this ultimatum moment with whatever's going on. Like, in the first town, there's this guy who's basically a dickhead that runs the place. And you're basically going around completing all these quests with these other people that have, like, different parts to them. But it all revolves around this guy just basically being a crappy dude. And so at the end, it basically resolves itself because of your findings about his poor leadership, I guess, is the best way to describe it. I don't want to spoil nothing for anyone thinking about playing it. But it's really good. The main story has all the mystery and intrigue that the first game did, which is awesome. I wasn't sure how exactly they were going to do it, but it was like you're getting these hints as to what the main story is focused on in the first game that were just kind of left around as clues, but now they're just these central focal points. And it's like it's like season 2 of your favorite show. And it's done in almost like a Marvel-like fashion, where it's like these little things are being now pushed into the main frame focal point for the player. And then combat, fucking great. It basically does everything I wish Assassin's Creed did. You have these more advanced movement things that you can do with the parkour, which is, of course, amazing. I love movement in games, going way back to my Assassin's Creed days, just the different advanced side ejects, back ejects, the pull caster, the way you have to use this thing called the focus. It basically reveals things from the old world to you. So you can see these different climbing paths, and you have to use it to do that. It's really cool. I mean, I can't stop raving about the game. I can't stop. It's a joy. And the combat, the ranged combat, is kind of like the main focus of it. It's about using your bow and stuff, but there's so many different bows that you can use, different weapons you can use for different occasions, against different machines, different enemies in general. I mean, holy shit, the game is deep. It is fucking deep. It is. I love it. I love it. So, that's my
It's great to hear.
semi-short thoughts. Yeah. I hope I kept that.
In general,
You can go ahead.
Are you more of a PlayStation guy or an Xbox guy, just on the whole?
It honestly sways. I just like good games, honestly. I know that doesn't really answer the question.
I mean, hey, no, it's any answer is a good answer.
Yeah, like I like good fucking games. PlayStation has some dank exclusives, not gonna lie, but Game Pass, I mean, that's pretty awesome too. So both pieces of hardware offer something to players. I think it depends what you're looking for at the moment. For me at the moment, I'm looking for that deep story-driven experience, and Horizon's giving that to me right now. Although I will say, a lot of my favorite games as of recent have just happened to be on PlayStation, just because their exclusives are that good. It just happens to be that way. Xbox is more my FPS kind of console, just because, you know, things like FPS Boost and all that. Battlefield was partnered with Xbox, so I got a lot of that on that side. Obviously, FPS is kind of struggling at the moment, especially on console, so I haven't been on it quite as much. So I guess in a way, at the moment, PlayStation is my go-to. But I would play both at any given moment, depending on what the gaming gods demanded of me.
That's fair. Pious service. Any games in 2021 that you're looking forward to?
God of War Ragnarok. And then Elden Ring, I'm not sure. It seems interesting. George R.R. Martin did it, but I've never played a From Software game, and honestly, just the art style does not really catch my attention that much.
My brother, he's really looking forward to Elden Ring.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it's amazing. I don't want to sit here and like shit on it. It just does not appeal to me specifically.
Talking to a dude who couldn't even beat the tutorial Dark Souls, so I get it.
Oof.
I mean, to be fair, if I cared, I'd probably try it, but you know, I mean... So...
I'm sure at this point you could.
Yeah, at this point I could, but you know, I got Project Lucan and
right, yeah, Project Lucan. So sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm looking forward this year really to two games. Starfield and maybe Kerbal Space Program 2 if it's out of development hell. Because... I mean, personally, I guess the movie I kind of credit with me getting into physics in the first place was Interstellar, like that Nolan film from 2014.
Oh, I remember.
You ever see it?
I remember. Oh yeah, my mom was my astronomy teacher in high school, and she took the entire grade to go see it.
Yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah, easiest 100 of my life, but otherwise.
So,
great movie.
Yeah, it was. And seeing Starfield basically kind of fulfilling that niche but giving form, and the fact it's a Bethesda title too. Like, the only game franchise that I buy I'm willing to pay money for at launch is Battlefield. But I might seriously drop money for Starfield at launch. Because this is coming from a guy who initially gave up shits and was just waiting for Elder Scrolls 6. But now, like, I've seen more of the promotional material and some of what they're trying to do. I'm seriously looking forward to what it might be offering.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't checked it. I saw the Jack Frags video. I haven't seen too much of Starfield. What exactly like obviously it's in space and it's Bethesda, so I have some idea of what to imagine. But
it's aiming to be more. It's aiming for a really weird niche in my opinion, because it wants to have things like interstellar world building and like hundreds of years in the future, but wants to have some grounded feel. Like the Bethesda artists have coined the term NASA punk to describe the aesthetics of the game. So they want to have like your space exploration thing, but they want to have it with like more tenderness than Star Citizen, but not the drudgery of EVE Online, if that makes sense.
I think I got what you. I think I got.
So
it sounds interesting.
I mean, look, man. If I had to choose between Star Citizen and Elder Scrolls 6, I'm still going for Elder Scrolls 6. You know, you have to sacrifice one or the other on the altar, but we're getting Starfield, so I'll play it. And I think Kerbal Space Program. Have you ever played Kerbal Space Program?
I have not.
It's basically you build your own rockets and then you fly them to like celestial bodies in the solar system.
Okay, that sounds cool.
I had like 100 hours, and I've streamed it the past 2 on other occasions, and it's really fun, but I haven't really gone anywhere near the full potential. And the second sequel was announced in 2019, but right after it got announced, basically, the studio dissolved and got bought out by another team in the same publisher. So
that's a bummer.
So we're still it's basically 3 years out, and we're waiting on what's going on with that. Supposedly it's coming out this year, but I don't know. I'm not trusting it. But it's basically, in addition to having your standard like improved graphics and engine, it's going to include colony building and interstellar travel, like things like Orion drives, near FTL drive and stuff like that. So it's basically going to be original Kerbal Space Program, but hopefully better.
I mean, that sounds really friggin' cool.
I can send you links to the trailer afterwards, but it's. I mean, I had the impression that 2021 was really going to be a great year for gaming, at least for my interest in gaming, and it might still be. But, and I guess I could say, I don't really know. I'm trying to be conservative a bit with my money nowadays, but really those I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And I still
Go ahead. I thought we'd be hitting like the post-COVID sort of world of gaming. It'd be like all these studios would be starting to get back into full swing of things, and it just feels like teams are more and more behind.
I think there's 2 factors. There's the Omicron wave, which kind of messed things up, and then there's the fact that returning to the office is no longer popular. Like the return to for like various reasons. Honestly, I think America really is going to reevaluate its work-life balance, culturally speaking, but at least in the near term, I think part of the difficulty of game design initially and working from home is that we didn't really know how to have the system designed around it. So you're going to have a lot of stupid scenarios where you could have handled by just hopping over to the next cubicle, you now have to go on a Zoom call and wait 30 minutes ago and stuff like that. But as for the future, I think game companies will be able to adapt to it effectively, because this working from home, it looks to be the future of the white collar work.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the ability to stream games and stuff like that will definitely make it easier. As well, because think if you could just stream a certain build of the game to somebody else. Like, oh, what do we want to do here? There's like, oh yeah, do this, this, and this, and then you can fix it. I mean, again, armchair game dev, but if that's a thing, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I actually want to talk about Interstellar a bit more, because I literally found like 0 other people to talk about this stuff with. What was it like seeing that film for you?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I had to pee my pants for like half of it because it was 3 hours long. So I remember, aside from having to use the bathroom the entire time, I remember it was just super trippy. the way the education system, especially at the beginning of the movie, feels remarkably familiar. It feels like a decently pessimistic look at, number one, how on one part stupid and on one part genius and intuitive humans can be, and really breaks down human nature that way really well, I think. I haven't seen it since the first time that I saw it, so I'm not sure if I'm remembering everything correctly.
Dude, I got it on my Google account. If you want to like stream it or watch something, just let me know.
All right, I'll let you know. I mean, I remember it was super well made. The actors did, Matthew McConaughey, I think Anne Hathaway was in it. I think Matt Damon made a surprise appearance, if I remember.
Yeah, he was actually the villain. I guess if you call it a villain.
Yeah. That I loved the way that they did the different worlds. I love how authentic they took space travel and everything. And I love that they based a lot of the weather events off of actual history and things like the Dust Bowl, which was something I read about as a kid, so it was cool to see that in the movie. And I mean, generally, it handled this balance of really realistic science while adding a nice fictional, very human story to it. That was, it had its moments, don't get me wrong, some cheese. But for the most part, it was really well made and authentic to how people would, I believe, react to that sort of situation and the things those characters went through. That's what I remember about them.
I would say that in some ways it's almost like the Battlefield 3 of space dramas.
Yes, that is the perfect analogy.
Because, I think one of the things people don't give enough credit to Christopher Nolan for is that how he actually deals with human dramas. Like, I know he has a reputation as being like a highbrow spectacle filmmaker, but there's still he does a good job with human characters. I think Tenet was a pretty good example of this, because even if it wasn't a main focus, you could kind of see the subtleties that would come through. One other thing I really want to credit Interstellar for is that he did a fantastic job of making you feel like you were in space.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely agree. It had that kind of... It wasn't overly sci-fi-y. Like, it didn't feel too clean like you got from some of the newer Star Trek movies. Or even some of the old ones where it felt like the Enterprise was your living room. But it also was advanced, like it was rudimentary but advanced, and it worked. It was believable. It was grounded. It was gritty. You still felt the terror of being out in space. Things like time dilation, how fucking freaky that shit is. Someone's entire life could go by, but for you, it's like an hour. It was so good. So good.
Dude, it was loud too, though.
No, it was super loud.
Oh yeah.
Some of the sound effects in that movie reminded me of in episode 2, Attack of the Clones, when Jango Fett drops those thermal detonators or whatever they're called. It reminded me of that, because that shit like destroyed my fucking head when I was a kid in the movies. I just remember dreading it going off. Even though it's like a cool sound now, like looking back as an adult.
Yeah, it's iconic now, but dude,
awesome.
No, it was...
Back then, ugh.
Dude.
Misery.
When McConaughey's character was falling into black hole, dude, I was scared. Like, that was...
Yeah.
That was the scariest thing, too. And it was really cool.
Oh, it was super cool. It was trippy. And it was terrifying.
Dude, that's the thing, yeah. Like, dude, Interstellar was, like... It was fantastically terrifying in the way that, like...
Yes.
I always, there's like that YouTube video I keep getting recommended about talking about how the music is terrifying, sure, but even just the general construction of it just scares you.
Yes.
It scares you in the most subtle ways, because it's not like something you have to think about, but something you actually have to deal with directly.
Yeah, it's not scary like a slasher kind of thing. It's just a genuine fear of the unknown, kind of a genuine suspenseful fear. Both the unknown of space and the unknown of what's about to happen.
And then it gets
Very well.
70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Which is fucking bullshit. Fuck Rotten Tomatoes, man. Oh man.
I mean, look, for the moment, it's basically the 2001 of like our generation when it comes to science fiction films.
Yes.
Because like there's the film, like the CGI for the black hole is so advanced, they actually published a paper in computer science for rendering it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool.
I don't know. I want to give that film a lot of credit because in some ways, like, you could actually argue I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for it. Because, like, that was the first time I really thought of physics as, like, something that's viable to be interested in, right? And it's not like I was some science slouch then, because I've always, like, gone for the most advanced thing I was exposed to. So in middle school, I was reading a bunch of Tom Clancy books. I wanted to go into virology after reading Rainbow Six, and now I'm really glad I didn't.
Yeah.
So,
you don't love Rainbow Six Siege? You don't love Ubisoft and how amazing they're?
Dude, for me, Rainbow Six ends with Vegas 2. Okay, what we have here is
terrifying.
Look, The Division is a fun game, but it's not a Tom Clancy game, even if no matter how much you try to slap the marks on it. And
what about
Rainbow Six? It's a fun game, but it's nowadays, man. Look, if you want a CS:GO killer, just be honest.
Yeah. What about Tom Clancy's X Defiant? Are you excited for that?
I actually got invited to beta test for it, but I literally did not care. Like, zero shits. Zero shits. It looked like a worse version of COD. And I'm like, well, I can play COD, or I could play this. That basically apes all the assets from The Division. Or I could just play The Division.
Yeah. Oh, that's what happens when you let Drifter be a developer.
He was a developer?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. That is
painful.
Look, man. Here's the thing. There is a reason, like, game development exists as a study specialization. There's a reason why, like, Redditors aren't game developers. Okay? And as much as even we complain, we know there's an important difference.
Yes.
Oh, God. You know, that is something.
Yikes.
Look, X Define, I mean, if you want to play any, like, Ubisoft game or any Tom Clancy branded games in the future, just play The Division 1, 2, Heartland when it comes out. Like, don't... Oh, okay, actually, I want to bring this up now that I'm on it, because, like, The Division 1 and 2, like, when they first came out and, like, game journalists reviewed them, all the journalists basically said that it was, like, crypto-fash propaganda and stuff. But I take offense at it because, like, the problem is these game journalists only made it halfway through the campaign of each game. And in both games...
Oh, my God.
In The Division 1, you start by fighting, like, people from Rikers Islands and Looters, right? So, like, people who think, like, you know, so I guess some, like, person would complain it's like Antifa, but the big baddies at the end are revealed to be basically a psycho ANCAP and, like, a military contractor. Okay? That's the first game. The second game, so you start off basically fighting, like, criminals again. But then, who are the antagonists? You got basically an American general who commits crimes against humanity. You got... He's like your first victim attacks. And then you got, at the end, it turns out that the president is a traitor who sold the country out to corporations. And they got these corporations sending in mercenaries to take over the government. And then Warlords in Europe comes along, and the psycho ANCAP from the first game is back. Okay, so... And in The Division 2, they got, like, LGBT flags in some communities. It's a bunch of, like, diverse people learn how to use guns. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, but this is, like, a John Kerry liberal game. And you didn't even play long enough to actually realize it.
That's funny. I mean, that's messed up, but that's funny.
I mean, yeah, the storyline's completely messed up because of all the stuff that happens. It's, like, it's a dark storyline, but it's honestly hilarious how many people misinterpret it because it's so on the nose, right? The Division 2 is like the most liberal game I've played that has good graphics, by far.
Yes.
It's anything you want to bring up?
I mean, I'm just obligated to say anytime I discuss Ubisoft games that they're pieces of crap for the way that they treat their employees, particularly women. And one of their app developers called me a terrible human being for not liking Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't know why that's such an offense, but that's a thing.
I don't. Yeah, I mean,
so I don't really like Ubisoft in general. They've ruined all my favorite franchises, and they're just generally like crappy executives. I'll say. I won't say all the developers are, because I know some of them. They're nice people. They just, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Bad umbrella.
Right.
Look, yeah,
and I hope somebody buys them out.
Now I'll just say, like, I make it a point to only play as few games with like really bad policies against women, right? So Ubisoft is my limit. No Call of Duty or Blizzard for me.
No. See, I can't even hardly play Call of Duty.
I mean, oh god, I actually read the long Kotaku article on the lawsuit California filed against Blizzard. That is some really messed up shit.
Oh, it's
like the fact that there's not actual federal investigations is kind of pisses me off, because
they had a Bill Cosby room. Do you know how fucked that is?
Oh shoot.
Yeah. Fuck Activision.
No, I mean, look, man. If you see, this is kind of why we need Battlefield to do good, because as much as EA at least EA seems to care more, right? At least EA doesn't.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, but at least they have they do promote don't be a racist douchebag to their players. So they're a minuscule effort, and they don't have a Bill Cosby. So please, Battlefield, for women and minorities, please remain competitive.
Battlefield, you need to do this for the sake of mankind.
We can't let. Because here's the problem, no matter how much we whine and complain about Battlefield, we need it, okay? Because we can't let Call of Duty take over. I mean...
Not completely. Right now, this feels like the reign of the Empire right now. This is like Empire Strikes Back.
Dude, the good news is, the 3 people that EA installed in leadership, they're kind of like Han, Leia, and Luke. So...
Yeah.
It's,
Those are the 3 people left at DICE.
Oh.
They're making patches for 2042 as we speak.
Yeah, good luck to them. That's what I can say.
Yeah.
So I actually got a question. I know I probably asked this last time, but I forgot. Do you have Battlefield 3 on PC?
I do. Yes.
Okay, so here's the deal. There was yesterday, literally, the political journalist I interviewed is Jim Swift. So he's at the Bulwark, which is basically an anti-Trump publication. But the thing is, this dude played Battlefield 3 a lot back in his younger days.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, he brought up the idea, we maybe get on a server together. And I'm thinking, if you can actually get that in, I might be able to go for a crossover.
I'd do it.
Okay, I'm just saying, though.
Set it up, I'd do it.
You'd be willing to play on, a guy who worked for George Bush's campaign, though? Because...
Listen, my thing on politics is I think they're all scummy, so I don't really care.
Okay, hey, I'll get it set up sometime.
I mean, I don't believe in either side. I think they're all trash. So
yeah. So hey,
I don't care.
All right, that works for me. I mean, my ass is covered, dude. Okay.
As long as he ain't a Nazi.
Dude, I mean, hey, the fact that that's a bar to clear now in the United States, sus, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
could talk about just how objectively terrible 2042 is compared to 3, but really break it down in a very overly detailed way.
I still want 2042 to succeed. I don't want to trash it too hard because, in my opinion, dude, I could break down any game against Battlefield 3. It's the fact. I will be honest. The fact that the Battlefield community seems to simp so hard for 4, but not 3, kind of gives me a very minor aneurysm. A very minor one.
Oh, same. Everyone's like, oh, 4. I see polls all the time. It's like, oh, 4. I'm just like, what about 3, you imbeciles? You're forgetting the greatest.
How about that?
It's just because 4 was the first one that was 64 players on console.
Yeah.
And it was the first one that was, you know, it had Evolution and all that. I think it was the most accessible to modern games, but it's still. Although I do find this interesting. So I was following a conversation that a couple of the devs were having, some of the former devs, I should say, about Battlefield 3, and they were talking about how great the maps were. They were talking about how the maps were actually designed for 24 players, but that's why they feel so chaotic with 64, of course. And I was like, oh, shit. So if you think about it, Battlefield 3 had more players than what the maps were designed for. People loved it. For the most part, 24-player modes are so popular. People enjoyed the console version. Battlefield 2042 is like completely the opposite. The maps are made for like 1,000 players, but only have 128 at the most, and it's miserable.
Yo, 24 players on Battlefield 3. It's like the PC maps were for 24 players. Bondar Desert was for 24 players.
Yeah.
Holy shoot.
Yeah. They said some of the DLC maps were, of course, made for 64 as they went.
I mean, Endgame definitely.
But all the launch maps were made for 24.
Well, I mean, it worked.
Oh yeah, it fucking worked. It friggin' worked.
Dude, so that
crazy bastards.
That's probably the secret sauce to Battlefield 3 maps. It's not that like they did whatever they did with 4. It's like you just under-design it. Like, it probably isn't that simple, but man, Battlefield 3 is. I don't know. I'm so angsty that people don't give it enough due because it deserves all the love and more. Okay, because Battlefield 3 is the reason like Battlefield as a franchise is even on the map.
Yeah, I know some people want to go back to Bad Company 2, but dude, that's 3.
Like, look,
3. Y'all just don't get it.
I'm sorry, but okay, you know what? Here's my controversial take. I actually like the blue filter because I think the blue filter was great for the atmosphere.
Yeah, I think if you did that today, I think you should have the option to turn it off. But
no,
it was a good artistic kind of thing.
They should have had as an option in Battlefield 3 because like the graphics without the blue tint are like so beautiful that they actually look better than Battlefield 4. All things the same, but.
Yeah, I mean, on PC, it's oh my god, it looks so good to this day, even with the blue tint, even with it.
No, I mean, it's the thing is, I mean, no, it's just, how do you even describe it? Because Battlefield, like, I know this is not me going to roast and glass. I played it recently. It's still good. It's just that, like, kudos to the Germans for keeping it alive on PC. That's what
Thanks, Germans.
Because, like, there's this one clan, I think they're called Yaw Warriors or something. They have a bunch of servers, even including the DLC maps. Because people are sleeping on the Battlefield 3 DLC, right? It is.
Yes.
Dude, an airdrop to IFV. Something that we've only seen. Basically, it took 2042 to be, like, the only game that has anything close. Of the gunship. Okay, the gunship's kind of annoying, though, but. I mean, Battlefield 3 had so much cool stuff and it just gets ignored. Okay, I think...
Yes.
I mean, I guess my only regret, it's not really regrets, like, it just was, like, I was too young to actually be able to have the resources to play Battlefield 3 in its heyday. Right, but... Dude, honestly, I would actually... Okay, who went pro? I would actually support, like, a Battlefield 3 remaster.
Oh, same.
I would buy
Absolutely.
that. Like, okay, there's a rogue agent nearby, and I literally have no clue where they are, and I don't trust any of these people.
I don't trust you.
Oh, there he is. He's probably got a DPS build. Let me toss some shit.
Get him.
I don't. Okay, so I think seriously. There we go. There, the drone's task on him. See, this is why I like the Division, is the cool stuff you can do like this. I still like the PvP, though, and my friends do as well, but, you know, we care.
Right. That's what matters.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks that there's no crossplay and that you're on bad terms with Ubisoft. But I get it. But
Yeah.
honestly, the
Yeah, I
funny
didn't
thing-
mind the Division before, but it's just, yeah, Ubisoft, not ideal.
No.
Anyway, go on.
I mean, the thing is, I actually was kind of hyped for the Division 1, like the first game, but I didn't have a PC. Well, I did have a PC that was capable of playing, but I just never had the game until basically my senior year of high school. And then I played it for like 40 hours. And then, like, the only reason I'm actually playing this game, fun enough, is that I heard it was on sale for $3, so I just decided to pick it up then. And then Warlords of New York came. I mean, this was around Warlords of New York now, so like my friends like started playing it, and it was around when we all started the COVID isolation. So I started on that, and it just sucked me right in. Like I'm at 520 hours right now, and I only spent in total like literally $12 on this game because of the sales and everything. Oh, look, the rogue agent's back. Hold on, let me. I got stuff for this. There we go. This is
Get him!
Okay, yep, there we go. Those are explosives.
No rogue agents.
Here, I'm gonna. Oh shoot! They're probably using a bleed build or something.
Agent down.
I mean, it's not like I'm doing this for the gear. The gear drops suck. I'm just using this for the
Hostiles.
XP.
Location nearby.
Here, let me check out the build. It's. Oh, that was a pure DPS build. I was right. I probably shouldn't have pushed, knowing it was a DPS build. But hey, that's what risk takes. Risk is. It's always good to take risks.
Gotta risk it for the biscuit, man.
Dude, okay, but this game is literally running so trash with Streamlabs because,
Safe area detected.
like, when I first spawned, it took me like it took like 3 minutes just to get my loadout menu pulled up.
Yeah.
I was playing last night and I was going to like a landmark, and it would take like 30 seconds for it to actually load in. I think I walked into inaccessible areas because of it. But
Jesus.
this game is, I don't know, it's like, for some, like the Division 2, and I guess in general as a franchise, it's a really interesting spot where it's tactical enough to be tactical and to be fun, but it's not so tactical that it's tedious. It's post-apocalyptic
Right.
enough to be fun, but it's not so post-apocalyptic enough to be stupid. And it has like the near future kind of approach, which is fun, I guess. It hits the spot on a lot of things.
System malfunctioning.
Yeah, it's kind of this a decent midpoint.
System reactivated.
And I mean, the environments are really well designed too. So Washington D.C. and New York in the first game, yeah, this guy's basically going to go broke again. So I'm trying to debate on whether or not I should follow them or not, just on virtue of seeing if. I'm playing with controller 2 on PC, so this is going to be like a complete disadvantage. But yeah, they went rogue.
Rogue defender drone detected.
Oh, I forgot.
Rogue.
Dude, I forgot the I forgot the keybind to use in my armor kit. Oh, now I remember. No, because this gear set, you replace this armor kits, which are basically your health packs, with a buff, a temporary buff that gives you like double bonus armor and 20% weapon damage increase for like 5 seconds. And it's the only thing I've been able to run that doesn't get me insta-killed in PvP, because PvP in this game is ridiculously hard. Like, I would rather play on a server full of Kernel 100s than have to rely on PvP in this game. It's really that difficult. But it's when you actually manage to get kills, it's so rewarding.
Yeah. Get that satisfaction. Like, oh yeah, I earned
There we
that.
go. That was
I
a double
earned that one.
Let's see.
Now detecting contamination.
I'm not even doing this for the, I don't know. This is really just... Okay, I actually want to ask another thing. So, Chinese mobile games, do you ever dabble in those, or are you just independent? And I guess, hold on, this kind of ties into, like, the prevalence of anime in gaming culture as general. Like, what are your opinions of that stuff?
I haven't really dabbled in the Chinese market for games. I mean, I know like Call of Duty Mobile is made by Tencent, but
Extraction helo. Almost.
I don't really play mobile games in general, if I'm being honest. Although I may play Battlefield Mobile just because of purely the fact that it'll have things like classes and stuff from BF3 in it. So I may end up playing that mobile game, but like, what makes a Chinese mobile game? Like, is it unique, like a Japanese RPG sort of?
No, it's
like
just that there's a bunch
differentiate?
of there's like just so many Chinese game firms, and mobile is an easy access market, so they're just prevalent. Some of them are really good, some of them are really bad. So it's a mixed bag. And anime, like art styles and as a baseline, is becoming really popular because it's popular there, and it's you know how to implement it.
Right. Okay.
Oh shit.
Okay, so it's like those giant, those very jiggly ads that you get sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Sex sells, man. Okay, let's see if I can actually
That's
help
funny.
him. Oh no! That was not good. Okay, well that worked out surprisingly well.
Rogue agent neutralized. Now
Okay, so yeah.
contaminated.
Here's another question: like, how much in your life have you dealt with anime at, and just in any capacity?
I mean, honestly, it's mostly just been in the gaming side of things. I don't even really know. I think I had a friend or two that may have watched it, but they didn't really talk about it that much. It just hasn't been a large part of my life
Hero is returned
in any
to base.
significant way. I mean, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. I just haven't
It's just not your thing.
haven't known a lot of people. Yeah, it's just not a thing.
I have a super weird relationship with it. So
Yeah.
in high school, right? I watched it for like 2 years and then I stopped. Mostly because like
Okay.
I found what I liked and then there wasn't any more, and I have like some personal problems with the social elements of it, so just no interest. But the thing is, I'm in like a bunch of anime adjacent communities, like to this day, partially because like just my gaming interests. So I'm aware of the developments in it, but it's not really like a thing I'm active in anymore. So I don't know. It's
It's something you're aware of, but you're not like a part of.
I'm basically in some ways like I'm almost the closest you can get to being in the anime community without watching anime, because I don't know. There's a lot of elements. There's like my personal views on it are like so complex. It's not even
Contaminated.
because like the thing is it's a Japanese medium. Japan's like a really closed off society, right? And I'm an American. I appreciate like our openness and diversity and all that stuff. So it just doesn't jive with how I develop my views in the long run. But at the same time, I can't deny that it does some stuff very well. And a lot of it is for their market, not ours. So it's not like I'm really complaining. But there's also things with like
Right.
the latent misogyny and things. I mean, I guess that's part of some people, right? And there's no matter what's going to be prevalent for some of the stupid things. But even then, you know, sometimes I feel it's excessive, even for what the intents are. And I'm getting shot at.
Immediate medical assistance.
Yeah, I've seen some of the memes. It's very strange
I mean,
in that
look,
regard.
take it from me, East Asia, like, it sucks to be a woman in East Asia. Doesn't matter which East Asian country, it's gonna suck. But, you know, hopefully that'll improve with time. I don't know how quickly it will, but let's just hope it does. Oh, great. Alright, there was...
Serious trauma.
Can only hope.
Okay, I only think there was... Okay. I'm sorry if I'm like if my train of thought isn't consistent. I'm having to deal with this right now.
Focus, young Padawan.
In order to... Okay, so my build has high armor, but I need to run around in order to maintain my damage with this weapon. So I'm always being shot up. But the thing is, I get health back or armor back by killing enemies. So, and it's something until I gotta stay on the move, keep dealing damage, and try not to take too much on my own. Oh great, that guy wants revenge. Okay, this was bad. Yeah, I knew this. Oh man.
That sounds like a fun build, though.
It's not bad. Like, this is really a PvP build.
Rogue defender drone
Right.
detected.
How did I kill him? I should not have won that. Look, I'm just as surprised as you are. I shouldn't have won that. I should not have won that. No, because I was low on armor. I guess this is so weird. I've never been this successful in PvP in the Dark Zone before. This is just completely new to me.
Detecting.
It's like I'm on the big stage, I'm wrecking shit.
Not even that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why this guy's coming after me. I've only, You know, it's defensive. I've only shot at them when they are going rogue. I'm not even stealing their stuff.
Yeah.
That's another thing with the Division 2 is like you get a feel for the way people behave on things. Like, people can be. Okay, see, you see this, right?
Yeah.
That is me having to get back into cover so I don't get shot, and I'm not going to make it. At least I don't think I'm going to make it.
I believe in you.
Hold on. See, it's okay, there we go.
That is a lot of bullets.
Oh, are you serious? There he is. No, that's someone else. That's someone else. It's nah, man. The Dark Zone's a really interesting place. It was better in the first game, from what I've heard, because the time to kill in PvP in this game is too fast, and the first game actually took a while, which was. There's a lot of subtleties to playing the Division. But this...
Yeah.
Actually, here, I'll get shot up first. I'll literally go demonstrate some of the socialization aspects I think are needed in the Battlefield franchise that I found in this game. Because in the White House, right, there, for example, there's like a... Actually, I don't even get... Well, this isn't exactly... This is kind of what I thought Hazard Zone was going to be like a bit, was maybe not with the looter-shooter mechanics of this, but...
Detecting additional
I don't know. Or, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Let me, Nah, I'm trying to like play this at 30 FPS when I typically play it at 60, so there's that, but I'm honestly just weirded out by the fact I've been winning PvP engagements, because that does not happen. It just is not how things work normally. I think what's probably going on is that all of these are, it's like, this is what, a weeknight, so all these people are like 40-year-olds with kids, so they can't pay attention or whatever. Or maybe they put their kids to bed, but they're too tired to actually pay. Okay, I think I see movement over there. That's probably the guy coming back to get revenge. Yep, it is. I'm gonna check my connection real fast. Yeah, I think you cut out there for a second, but it just might be because of the CPU.
I just said got him.
I don't know what they're doing.
If that was the guy.
I'm not going to go rogue, but it's... I'm seriously...
Landmark clear.
I'm literally not... Look, hold on, let me see something. Let me look at the spice. So they're... Okay, they're low leveled, so I should be able to beat them, but I'm not going to, as long as they don't do anything. It's to see, there's a real lesson in psychology here. You know someone who's a constant threat, so what do you do? Remain and observe them, or do you just try to avoid them?
Blast them.
Dude, that's probably why I've been winning these fights, because I'm literally 10 times the shade level of them, which usually isn't too much statistically speaking, but I don't know. Their build's not bad, though, for PvP play. It's just not... You know what? I'm going to go be a menace. Why not? I got stomped on so much, I might as well do some stomping back. And, I gotta find...
Get some revenge.
It's not right. It's literally how it always works. It's cycled, man. Because every time you get stomped on, then you get powerful enough, you stomp on everyone else. It's literally how it is. And it's the stupidest thing, but it's also kind of rewarding at the same time. Okay, so I guess they had the good sense to run away. But this is my excuse to actually get out of the Dark Zone. Or... Actually, let's go take a look at this extraction. Because someone called it in, I don't know who, and this is either, if they're going to go rogue, they're going to go rogue there. So right now the Division 2, there's supposed to be a new content update coming around sometime in May. I actually don't know what it, no one knows what's really going to be in it, aside from like some stat changes. Okay, they went rogue, and I should not have been doing this, but whatever. Let's go find...
Fuck it.
Got 170.
Get him.
Okay, 170 meters out. Let me... My guess is... Okay, so there's two different rogue groups. There's 200 meters out, and then there is 170 meters out in the last game. This guy's probably who called in the extraction, but I got no clue where the other rogues are, which is... I don't know. On one hand, I don't have anything I care about getting out of here, which, if I actually had something like an exotic, I'd be really paranoid, but don't care. I'll put my loot on, and I'm not going to do anything for this guy, because he's got enough to work out. Actually, no, I mean, he's like, what? He's level 5. A shade 5. Not level 5, but... And our, like, the post-level 40 ranking is about what's called shade level. And you get up to 1,000, you'll get stat bonuses. After that, you just get, I don't know, maybe like a cosmetic cache or something. But,
Okay.
I don't know. If I really want to be a douchebag, I could probably go hijack this extraction, but why would I? The gear probably sucks, and I have no need for the gear anyway. Just need the XP. You know what?
Just for fun.
I'm gonna be nice to this dude. I'm gonna have him shoot me up. Is he not gonna shoot me up?
Nope, sorry.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Here, get some free XP. Get some free XP. Here, I actually want to see what build they have, because some of these people that are low level have, like, insanely terrible builds. It's not even, like, worth making fun of how awful some of their builds are. But this... Let's see. Concussion. They're going for headshots. This is actually somewhat competently put together, but it's clearly like they just got their New York here. But I actually want to show you some elements. This game, I don't know, it just, you know, it doesn't sound like it should suck you in, but for me, it hits the spot, you know, for whatever reason.
Right. Right.
And the environments are so well designed. It's kind of like, you know, it's your modern day hero fantasy, but it's done in a way that doesn't make you feel stupid for enjoying it.
Safe area detected.
Right.
And this is the real meat of the Division 2 right now. Basically, everything that's going to be out released to the game is going to be released to people who own Warlords in New York, which takes you back to New York, but instead of being in Midtown Manhattan, you're in, I think, Lower Manhattan, which is the part of New York that I actually visited, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I went to New York once. It was shortly after my grandmother died. I came back to, like, I flew to China to basically pay respects at her grave for, like, my spring break. So I was there for, like, 5 days, which was by far the shortest amount I've ever been there. And I flew back with my grandfather so he could spend the summer with, you know, my mother being his daughter and the family. So we went to New York with him, and he was really insistent on going to Chinatown to buy things like medicines and all that, even though you get the same stuff here for less. But yeah, this is what I was talking about. This is a social hub, right? So
Yeah.
if we imagine we had something like this on the Exodus or in our Netherlands base for World War II mercenaries in the next game, which is what probably, you know, I can do things like, okay, where's my emotes? I rarely play with controller. I really don't know where the emotes are. But there we go. So yeah, let's. What if? Here, let me go find some good lighting and. There we go. Let me pop and lock. All right, so I'm stupid like that. I'm emoting near a bunch of people. I'm showing off my cosmetics. They're showing off their cosmetics with their player level and stuff, right? If I want to go look at some menus, I'm gonna go. I can do season menu here, and I can buy global event items if I actually cared about the global events. Or maybe if I want to matchmake, let's see what I can do for matchmaking. It's just a little kid. It's somewhere. Yeah, there. That was bounty, so that's another activity. It's in, and any of these functions I can get right through the in-game menu, so there's no need to actually run around if I don't want to. But the thing is, this is such an immersive way to actually experience the meat of your story, right? Because here, let's go downstairs towards the player personal area. What do we got? We got customization station. We got a show off for our weapons, that our exotic weapons that we've uncovered. That's basically just flavor text that they left over from the campaign. Let's see here. Yeah, here, clans. Look at this. You got clan show off room. You got your personal clan show off room. And then you got another way to access backup. But you know, it won't take long. I mean, when the beta came out, I did the no-clip trick. They have the interior of the Exodus rendered in the menu. It's all there. It's just not accessible. And with a few things like this, I don't see why they couldn't make it an actually engaging player space.
Yeah, no, I don't get it either. Because I remember before, I think you just mentioned it before the beta, was people were exploring it. Like a guy sent me footage of it. He was like, "Hey, man, make this little video. You know, talk about it in a video. Here's the footage. You're free to use it." and I did. I was like, oh, this is fucking cool. I don't know why it's not a thing. I don't know why they don't have a social space. I don't know if they meant to have it, they just didn't finish it or what. But it absolutely needs something like what you're showing here. Obviously, with more Battlefield centric.
I mean, yeah,
things.
That's a subway station. You know, a ship is. Here's the other thing is right. I don't know why they seem so adamant on not letting us customize our own players, because all of those people, there are no pre-made characters in this game. You make your character, you basically build their face. You can't really change it afterwards, but you build their face, and then you get cosmetics through, hey, look at this, a loot crate system you can use money for, right? But these cosmetics, you can use them however you want for whatever outfit, right? So it's not like...
Right.
You can easily monetize because you got good cosmetics. You can have... So the thing that I find confusing is that why would you intentionally restrict the cosmetics you could get? I mean, the way you could showcase them, right? Because no custom character, you don't have as much attachment. You can't put whatever cosmetics you want on, so you're less incentivized to use things that you can't buy effectively. It's like... I don't even know. But... just to showcase some more of the Division, this is Lower Manhattan, so they got everything rendered up. I'm playing this at like low to medium settings too right now, because I typically play at that to try to maximize my frame rate and sort of roguelike mode. But
yeah,
I'm just looking at this.
It looks great. Yeah, it looks beautiful. I played some of the Division 2. I didn't play the Division 1. When it first, it actually wasn't even when it first came. It was probably like a couple months after it released. But I didn't play any of the DLCs, but Washington was gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Washington several times, and like, they really nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, same. I've only been once, but still. They really got the vibes of the city, you know, the layout of it.
Here, let me showcase the Division 1, because, like, in the Division community, there's, like, a split between, like, there's a kind of meme on the server where people are complaining, or, like, the in-joke is they're talking about the snow, because the first game obviously, like, Midtown, New York, Manhattan, snow, and you want, like, I gotta give props, because Division 2 is really atmospheric, but the first game really shines in that realm. To the point where people basically associate the franchise with Snowfall. And I don't know why that's not loading. Here, let me try to get this going. Okay, my computer's weirding out. Let me, Ubisoft Connect is having 0% CPU usage. There we go.
That's because they know I'm on here. They know I'm on here.
Man,
the guy is like, oh no, not this guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is... Oh, no, actually, the only Assassin's Creed game I've ever played was Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, the guy didn't even work on Assassin's Creed. He was a Ubisoft Connect guy.
What?
That was the weirdest part. Yeah, I'm like, you have no investment in this weirdo. Like, what?
I'm sorry, a digital storefront guy complained. Well,
yeah.
Did you say you're never going to buy another Assassin's Creed or something?
No, I was just talking to someone else about ranking the games, and he had Odyssey first, and I had Odyssey last. And he was like, "Oh, well, maybe at JAWSGaming is just a terrible human being incapable of empathy." I was like, "What? Why is this so deep?"
Yo,
but it just that's what happened.
That is. Look, man, I don't even know.
Yeah, people thought he like knew me and we were joking. I was like, no,
Did you ever actually,
I don't even know where the fuck this came from.
Did you ever actually report that to HR? Because that sounds like something that... Well, I mean, obviously not HR, but, you know... Yeah,
I should have.
I mean, well,
I made a whole video on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're a man, so hey, maybe they'll actually listen, you know?
That's true. Yeah, HR wouldn't have done anything about it. Exactly. So, but yeah, maybe if I did, you know, forget their own employees, but the customer... I mean, I've bought enough of their products. They can't say I haven't given my fair share out of the wallet. They probably expect a little bit more, but you know, I bought all the Assassin's Creed games, most of the DLCs. Yeah, I think along with a lot of other Ubisoft. I used to really enjoy Ghost Recon.
I mean,
That was kind of my thing.
I've dabbled in Ghost Recon Wildlands a bit. Do you ever play that one?
Yes, I love Wildlands. I had a great time with that game. There's just so much to do.
How do you get the attack helicopter?
I think it only spawns at certain bases. At least when I played it. I know it's changed a decent amount since I've played. With like the season pass and everything they had. I played it on launch. So I'm pretty sure some of the stuff in that game. But I know there was bases you could get to like later in the game that had attack helicopters. And they were stupidly OP.
I'll have to keep an eye out for those then. I've had like 15 hours in so far, and I guess it just has a lot. It's cool.
It has all the sandbox that you want, pretty much. Like whatever you want to do, you can go do it. I honestly, one of the most fun things was just get the entire squad in a car and just drive around in like a Humvee and just annihilate everyone on the road. Or we just like do. Like kicking the doors at bases was so much fun doing stuff like that. Like sometimes we just get annihilated because it'd be, a higher level base or something, but you just fly in there, guns blazing, shit blowing up. You try to take the car as far as you can and then foot it the rest of the way. Like there's so much like role playing sandbox you could do. It was awesome.
So
it was awesome.
Let's see, how do you do this? I'm sorry. Let's see, how do I fast travel? I'm sorry if I'm like buzzing out here. It's just.
No, you're good.
How do I fast travel? Oh, is that it? Oh, here, let me. So I want to showcase this in terms of atmosphere because this is like the game that I actually cared about. At least this is the one I paid attention to the marketing, but never actually played. Whereas the Division 2, I basically paid no attention to the marketing past release, but it's the one I put 500 hours into.
Transmissions jammed.
I mean, just
proximity coverage only. Backup
so
activated.
This is
Division 1?
This is the first game.
Warning.
It's the one that has all the snow that people like to jack off about. Or jack off over.
You're now leaving the safe area.
So, this was the original Dark Zone, so in the Division 2, split up into 3 smaller zones, but here, it's basically just one huge block. And it's... I've rarely done PvP in this Dark Zone, but as like a place to explore, it's just unparalleled.
Yeah, it looks really intricately detailed. Like, it looks really cool.
This is like a 2017 game. I think March 2017 this came out. So it's... But then this is kind of the direction I wish that DICE would pay attention to the atmosphere and aesthetics for 2042. Now, like, the 2042's credit, they have like a pretty good, in my opinion, near future aesthetic. It's not god-awful like Call of Duty's, right? Because...
Right.
As fun as Black Ops 2 is, even that... It was tacky. Like, the aesthetics for 2025 were tacky. There's no hiding it. But
right.
This, you could say it's 2025 and no one would bat an eye, even though it's supposedly 2016. But, look, this game, in my opinion, has, like, basically worse gameplay than Division 2 in almost every aspect. But you still got people going on and on about this because of the atmosphere, because of the immersion, because of the aesthetics, right? These things can't just be ignored for the value they provide. Also watch, like, absolute bullet sponges of enemies. It's, you got no armor, you got instead health, and I suck at this game, along with... Oh yeah, another thing that's kind of changed is the, Actually, I might survive this.
Get him!
Actually, that's not what I intended to do, but we can do this. Run away. I don't know. Like, one of the things I appreciate about the Division as a franchise, like, the near future aesthetic it has is really unique and cool. I mean...
Yeah, it looks almost timeless.
It's,
for... It could be 2016 or it could be 2025, like you said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, it's it's one of the few games that relies on a light core cyberpunk computer aesthetic or its UI that actually does it well. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's
not over the top.
It gives you enough information, but it's minimalistic, and the color palette is effective.
Warning. Readings indicate this area is
Division,
contaminated.
well, of course, you know, it's a looter shooter, so not everyone's going to be is going to be into that, but it's an important lesson in how aesthetics can influence things. I'm going to extract this just to give an overview. Oh, there it is. Hold on, let me, here, the marker didn't go through, but this game, like, it's actually harder than the Division 2 in my opinion, especially for PvE play.
Exiting the contaminated
Okay, so-
area.
Oh, well, I'm sure they dumbed it down to make it more accessible.
I wouldn't really say dumbed out, like, in all honesty, because I'll put it this way: for like generic enemies, they're easier in the Division 2, but like the named and specialty enemies in the Division 2 are way harder, insanely hard, and even more bullet spongy. Well, maybe not more bullet spongy, but they can get pretty bullet spongy in that game. But it all depends on it. But this is the game that I played sort of after I realized I was going to go to college in Celebration. And it was fun then, but I don't know. If you like, this one really is the. Okay, this spot is interesting. Okay, I'll call an extraction. Basically, look at this and try to compare it to Hazard's basically, as an example. So you got the music going with it. That's not where I wanted you to put it. I'm probably using the wrong command. Alright, so you call an extraction, it's swarmed by enemies, but here's the thing, okay? The subtle details. You got the music going, you got snowfall, you got flare falling, it's not... I mean, if you want to talk about an extraction for any sort of a Far Cry style game or survival game, this is basically the opposite right here.
Yeah, it looks pretty intense, just watching it. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
that flare looking good.
I'm not the best. My build is not optimized anyway. This is basically just something I put together quickly. But because I only got 70 irons, so I don't have the full 5 minutes, so. But
I mean, it looks really intense.
Try not to die. So let's see. I think I. Here, let me see if I can have the turret take care of the ones over there. There we go. I'm not even aiming for the headshots. It's just I'm here. I'm just gonna switch to mouse and keyboard at this point. What was that?
Commencing package extraction.
Okay, so the helicopters arrived. We got the spotlight there, so they're just hovering. Okay, I'm literally getting here. There we go. Let's see if I can just. There we go, I'm going to catch. That's it. Now I'm going to fight off the rest of this wave. But yeah, these are the mercenaries that was talking about the field. Kotaku riders never bothered to fight. But you want to talk? I mean, this is basically the atmosphere is unparalleled. Because I mean, as much as I enjoy the Division 2, it's more refined game. I'm just looking at this. You got the Christmas lights, I'm like.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, like, the atmosphere just looks insane. It looks like it almost is the second game in a way. I mean, just it's super over the top with the atmosphere. I mean, like I said, the flare blew me away. That's just something you don't really
Extraction successful.
Okay, I'm going to shoot that.
There's something to be said for a good atmosphere in a game. It matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's a video game, right?
Right.
Let's see. I'm really looking forward to when the Division 2 gets new content, because the Division as a franchise has like a lot of potential for the things to do, and this is. I mean, playing this has been really informative for me to get an idea of how you can actually handle social functions in any sort of shooter. Because You know, even having like a safe house where you can see other people is such a transformative experience if you integrate that with like cosmetics and clans, right? Because in all honesty, this really doesn't do all that much for player socialization, but it still provides so much that's lacking in Battlefield, right? It's not the same level of World of Warcraft, but I mean,
Right.
people still play it. You got tons of discords looking for groups to do raids and incursions in this game and all that stuff, so it's not like it takes too much.
Right. Just enough.
Yeah.
Just enough to get people going.
Now I gotta find my way back to the checkpoint. Oh yeah, the GPS tab is up. There we go. And yeah, of course, now you can tell that the buildings are like pure flat rendering, but even then, the lighting is well handled. I mean, this looks better than Frostbite. For what I mean.
Yeah, no.
So.
There's the Snowdrop engine?
Yeah, it's Snowdrop. I think Snowdrop was actually made specifically like targeted towards the consoles too.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is.
I mean, it looks good.
I don't know. So. I mean, that's it. But I mean, I'm playing the 2 on occasion. I'm not trying to play it too much just because there are other things now. But you know, while I'm waiting for 2042 to get fixed, I'm really going to be grinding in the Division 2 and playing Wingman and Ravenhill and all that. I would say now's the time to try to explore and find other games to play while we wait for things in Battlefield to get handled properly.
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest downer about 2042, obviously I wanted it to be good. I think a lot of people feel that way, but just investing so much into it as far as content goes, I definitely feel like I've put a little bit too many of my eggs in one basket. I didn't, strictly do Battlefield, but...
No, yeah. I mean, I get it. If it's a big focus, even if it's not statistically what you mostly bound, what you invested emotionally, too, into your work is a big part of things.
Right. I mean, I love the franchise. I have tons of memories made with it. It's just... It sucks that this is where it's at.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, there's not really much worth saying about 2042 at this point, just because there is nothing going on with it. And look,
yeah,
here's the thing with PC optimization: every issue in a game is multiplied when you have a poor or inconsistent frame rate.
Readings indicate this area is safe.
Yes.
And for me personally, playing it, here's the thing: I like the gameplay of 2042. Near future combat, there are obviously there are changes that need to be made, but on the whole, I think it's good. The problem is when you're running 40 FPS on a 64 player server, it's still not going to flow the way it should, right? Oh yeah, so something else I want to demonstrate as a player hub. Look at this. You walk in, and it's already atmosphere. It gives you some investment into the things because you have your menus tied into the game. Now, obviously, this is a lot of work. This would be a lot of work for a first-person shooter or something, so they don't even necessarily go to this extent. But it gives the sense of investment.
Right. It's immersive. It's like, oh, this is what we're here for. This is what we're doing.
And here's the main PvP terminal, or not PvP, player hub in this game. And so here's some more things to point out. Okay, we walk in here, what we got? We got basically all the players, we are stats. Here's another thing they could do for 2040. You can integrate your vendors into the player hub, right? So you can buy your cosmetics or whatever from and do your microtransactions right there. If you want to play a certain playlist, you can integrate it into, say, where you would go physically in the player hub and stuff like that. Oh yeah, PvP.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine it's like, oh, well, I want to go do operations, so we go to the transport helicopter. Oh, I want to go do TDM, let's get on the dinghy boat. That'd be cool.
Honestly, Battlefield should take more inspiration from MMOs than they call it, because I'll admit, it's in a hard spot, because it's still too fast-paced, I guess, or coddish for an MMO, but... And look, people still play World of Warcraft and a bunch of other games. That doesn't just happen by. That certainly wouldn't have happened with DICE's management running the show, right? They do something right that retains players, and those people playing World of Warcraft are still paying $15 a month for it. Right? So,
yep.
You talk about dedication. I mean, I wouldn't. Look, I love Battlefield, but I wouldn't even pay $15 a month for Battlefield 3.
No.
If you can allow players the opportunity for them to maintain their communities in the game, that's going to do more to keep them in than any cosmetics or whatever. So, maybe they'll actually pay attention to that with the Battlefield Hub, maybe not, but I don't know.
They should. They should pay attention because they could do a lot of cool stuff that just ain't doing.
I mean, what else can I say? I guess I want to show off one last thing before I kind of terminate things here, but I want to showcase my Battlefield 5 characters, so to speak. You try to explain the value of the narrative with those, because I know for a lot of people it's the bane, but I mean, I want to showcase more games while I got the chance. No content-wise and all that.
Right.
Besides, I put 513 hours into Battlefield 5. It's not like I actually played it. I'm like the only person in my friend group who actually plays it. Therefore on Battlefield 4. Not that I can blame them, but just some proof that I'm not talking out the ass when I talk about 5. What do you think was the biggest missed opportunity with Battlefield 5 in terms of gameplay?
Thing they could have included or thing they shouldn't have included?
They could have included, I would say, is probably...
I think an expansion of sandbox stuff like the pickups, because when that came to the Pacific, I think that enhanced a lot of the gameplay. Whereas in the base maps, it just felt really stale. I know it's just a flamethrower and a katana, but imagine if they had expanded upon that. Maybe don't make the AT rifles into a fucking primary and just make them Battlefield pickups. Same with the MMGs. I think you add a lot more value and mystique to something like an MG42 if it's a Battlefield pickup. And then you can have, it's prone only. It is powerful, but only one person at a time can really have it. One or two, maybe, just one for each team, depending on the objectives you're on.
No,
I think that was the biggest missed opportunity.
I agree, and I think with Pacific, the map design really stepped up too, because the Pacific, it felt like you were playing Battlefield 4 almost again, right? It wasn't some...
Yeah.
The map design, really, they emphasized it's more of the sandbox in the Pacific. It wasn't just, the battle pickups are having more vehicles. Sandbox requires the map design.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's all an orchestra that needs each piece to come together. I think even with subpar map design, things like pickups can enhance it, but you need everything to come together to really make it a truly good Battlefield experience. If you have, good map design, but no pickups, well, that's just, that's fun. That'll hold me over for a while, but then the sandbox isn't 100% there. If you have bad map design but have pickups, you can still have a decent sandboxy experience. You can interact with the map. Yeah, exactly. It can be fun, but it's not as great as it could possibly be. Battlefield 4. Paracel Storm, I don't even know why people rave about that map. I can't stand Paracel Storm, and I can't stand Siege of Shanghai once the tower comes down. Zavod's good.
Tower Up is fantastic, but I agree. The tower falling down just makes the map worse in every respect.
Yeah, but then it's like, well, do you skip out on that fucking cool as shit event just to have better gameplay for a good chunk of the match? Like, where do you balance that out?
Or do you just something that the admin can disable is what you do?
Right. Well, I think another thing is just make a different part of the map that cool evolution. Imagine if the tower stays up, but say D flag collapses, or those like rows of buildings by B flag. Imagine if those come down.
Yeah.
Or at least one or two of them. That way you can kind of see more of the destruction without taking out the cool part of the map.
I agree. One thing I want to showcase before I start matchmaking is this is one of the things that we lost out on with 2042's cosmetics. So right now, I got my American support character, right?
Right.
So they're obviously dressed up to basically look like a Marine from World War One. But then I go into the recon, she basically looks like a Navy SEAL from the 60s, right?
Right.
Each of these characters, you could kind of introduce to the cosmetics something different into how you want to experience the game. And then you got the integration with the elite character, who could have been basically a specialist. And you lose out on that, which is... I don't know. I'm sorry. But yeah.
Yeah, Battlefield 5. I mean, I love the Pacific cosmetics. I mean, the way they did elites, I think was fine. I really don't know what the decision making was with going into specialists.
They looked at Call of Duty. That's what they did.
Yeah, but you gotta ask yourself, like, does this work? Like,
I mean, they were going in the direction of specializations long before Battlefield 5 was even developed, right? Because if you look at the promotional material, you had like the paratrooper variant or the Pathfinder variant for the recon, who could use SMGs. So I do think specialists as a gameplay mechanic, I think were inevitable, and because I think there's also some impetus to try to return to the complexity of Battlefield 2, but as a cosmetic thing, I think is where they really tried to bank on the money, and that's where I feel like it really flopped. Because I just showed you different cosmetics. I have 4 characters I can go for kind of, another more personalized sandbox, right? You can kind of create your own narrative, right? Do you want to have some drafty who uses World War I era stuff because he was put in one of the bad units that no one likes, or do you have like the woman who's basically a prototype Navy SEAL? You can have any of those narratives in a single match with this stuff. You can have character ownership and all that, but none of that, because you got to go for the guy with funny quips because that's what marketing says is popular with 12-year-olds. And the thing is, I feel bad because I feel like the specialists too as characters were done dirty because you should have decoupled them, right? Because if someone wants to feel represented by Angel, they could have gone for it, but he could have just been using any other specialization gameplay-wise. And here's the other thing, right? Battlefield 5, you don't have the end of round stuff showcasing off, because what's even the point of showcasing the specialists at the end of the round if they all wear the same stuff right now? Because there's not really that much in the way of cosmetics for 2042.
No, there really isn't. At all. There's a couple things that you can unlock, but they haven't really added anything. And then the stuff that they add in the weekly missions is so fucking pointless. Oh boy, a weapon charm. Who fucking cares?
Yeah. But I think that gets me is, Battlefield 5, your weekly missions, you'd have things like new vehicles and the new weapons too. They said that they were supposed to have basically live service up and running the moment the game launched, but obviously we're not seeing that.
Hell no.
I'm 30 FPS. It's this is basically me trying to play All Out War on the low power setting of my laptop. This is Xbox One playing Battlefield 2042 right now. But here's the thing, Battlefield 5 now that's gone through its changes has a decent atmosphere and immersive, but it still has a lot of fun gameplay and especially great team play. Because here's the thing.
Yes.
I knew from the get-go that 2042 was going to be built on the basis of Battlefield 5. But I was still surprised to see that it wasn't able to capitalize on the good elements of the Battlefield 5 gameplay base. Which is puzzling.
Unfortunately.
Because
I don't know.
There are things.
I don't know how they messed that up. You can go ahead.
Okay, it's a lot of top-down orders from DICE leadership, and then on a 5, I think by the end of its life cycle, managed to get enough right in terms of integrating both hardcore gameplay elements and softcore gameplay elements. Because the vehicles are hardcore, but the balancing for them sucks. But the infantry is kind of casual, but it works. It meshes well, right? Now I think with 2042 they're trying to go for more casual overall, but the vehicles are like still trying to be hardcore, which I don't really appreciate. The slow turret stuff and all that. I mean,
well, it's just poor gameplay design. Like, I keep getting these idiots in my comments that are coming at me for complaining about slow turrets. I'm like, you guys just don't get it. They're like, oh, they're actually fast because the turrets in World War II were actually way slower and all that shit. I'm like, no, that's not the argument. I don't care. Like, it's still about realism because they want to slow the turrets down so it doesn't feel like Battlefield 4.
No one was
and they
complaining
continue
about
that to
turrets
2042.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, in Battlefield 4's life cycle, there was a patch where DICE basically set what the turret speed was going to be across everyone. But you know what? No one was complaining about fast turrets after that.
Exactly. No, it was consistent, and that's what you want out of the gameplay. You want to be consistent. And when you take that away, that's when you start to see problems, which is exactly what happened in the following 2 games. I mean, there's absolutely no reason for it to be in 2042. No reason at all. It just should not be there. But it is, unfortunately.
They even got rid of the third-person reticle that was in the beta as well.
Yeah.
Which even 5 has that, and it's like the most hardcore frostbite entry.
Lo and behold, it is what it is at this point. I don't know that they would ever change it.
I mean,
yeah.
The game, look, it's going to go through a relaunch eventually. But the question is, like, how much of it are they actually going to change, and how much of it isn't? Because, like, there are some things I like. Honestly, like, I do like the gameplay elements of specialists and having things opened up. I don't like the cosmetic elements of it, but obviously that needs to be worked on no matter what, even regardless of how I like it, because there's not the same team play and squad code. DICE has outright stated that's the case. But here's like the revives of the down system, like Battlefield 2042. I feel like it incentivizes you to like respawn and not get revived, right? Because like here in Battlefield 5, when you get down, the experience sucks. But I don't know how I got that kill, by the way. It's like 15 FPS, but
it just works.
I think I mean, I typically play like 3 times, so it's better. But you know, not. I don't know, something happened to Streamlabs, I think, but like it feels like in 5 you can go down, you hold out, you'll get revived like 70% of the time if you're near next to people, if not higher. But in 2042 you could be next to a bunch of people and like nothing happens. And the thing is, like fundamentally, FPS players are the same. There's no reason why you should have such a disparity, right? But I don't know. I think. Okay, I'll put it this way. Specializations, in terms of combat, I think are a great innovative design, but in terms of team support, are a step back. Because if you only have 2 people who are consistent revivers, they're not going to be doing that job. They just, from a mathematical standpoint, 2 out of 10 is less than 1 out of 4. You know?
Yes.
And that's not counting for the fact that because people can play with whatever guns they want, they're going to be more focused on the guns. That's not to say that, like, and as I said, I like this gameplay innovations that Specialist brings as a gameplay. I like Specialists. The problem is that things like that are introduced, and there hasn't been any incentive, or there hasn't been any work done to try to manage that. Because, like, I'm sorry, team play has always been an issue in Battlefield. Part of it is like it depends on the players to actually do the right thing. You can't force them to be a team player. But the problem is, evidently DICE somehow knew a way to facilitate it, and it worked in Battlefield 5. But they're not. For some reason, it doesn't work in 2042 the same way. I don't know why.
I think it comes down to a couple things. Because of the way specialists offer freedom to players, it only encourages more toxic play. I mean, the people that are going to choose running Maria or running Angel are either going to be your super tryhards who aren't going to revive anyway because they're too busy thinking they're winning the game for the team when they're really getting 100 kills and still losing, and then wondering why that is. And it's really because all those tickets they let bled out while they were getting 100 kills. So in reality, they went like 100 and 100, give or take a few.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's its own conversation. But it just, like you said, 1 out of 4 is way different than 2 out of 10. Give or take, at least a quarter of the team is going to be playing medic, so someone's probably going to be near you to revive you. It also does come down a little bit to map design.
Yeah, the squad splits up so much more in 2042.
Yeah, just because maps are so open, you can't really stick together because cover's garbage. Like, it's really difficult in that way. But people that are running Angel are usually doing it for the armor aspect, and for the unlimited ammo aspect. And people running Falc are just healing themselves or just healing people, not necessarily reviving people. And usually when people die in 2042, they're out in the open with 7 vehicles staring down that one location, and 8 prone Borises also staring down that location because there's so many players that just jumping out there is suicide. Like, you might as well just let the ticket bleed.
No, I mean, I really don't like inclusive armor and language, because we saw what happened with Battlefield 4 in the defensive perk, right? Even with like nerfing to only 7%, it's still so trash for gameplay, right? Because you can do everything right, but if you're like uneven, but they have the defensive perk and you don't, you lose.
Yep. Absolutely. There's so many times where I'm looking at the death screen in 2042, and you know they had armor on in the gunfight, like McKay or somebody without armor, and I'm dead, but they have 10 health left because they had armor on. I'm like, I should have won that. You know, I took them down so far that I took 10 of their armor. I got extra health off of them, but I lose the gunfight due to no fault of my own, other than getting into the gunfight, which is the point of an FPS. I'm being punished for the most basic gameplay loop. That's just, wow.
That's assuming you can even like shoot them up because of inconsistent frames and poor mouse input if you're on PC.
Right. Well, even then, you go into crossplay. If someone's getting 90 frames to my not even 60.
Yeah. No, that's...
I mean...
Here's the thing, like, I'm invested in the vision of a near-future Battlefield, because near-future for the Battlefield franchise is a winner. Because that's what Battlefield 4 was by the end of its life cycle. It was not a contemporary military shooter, it was a near-future shooter. Right? This works.
Right.
It's good. People love it. And, like, on paper, look, aside from, like, the specialist cosmetics, on paper this should have been great, but implementation is so bad, and I guess I hate it that, like, we both try to talk about historical battlefields, so we just circle back to 2042, because, let's face it, it's just a black hole of things right now.
Right.
Okay, I quit 5 just because I was getting 15 FPS. I couldn't handle it. I mean...
It's all good.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, Portal, I still go on Portal from time to time because I do like Portal, and I'm willing, because I've unlocked all the guns and vehicles, I don't really care about the XP right now, so I'll go on Portal to, like, basically replay Battlefield 3 with bots, but, you know, a lot of people are dissuaded from Portal because of the XP punishment, which I think is really unfair. It's kind of, because, like, the way they market it, you got the impression that you get full XP progression in co-op in Portal, right? But that's not what happened.
Right. Yeah, no, that definitely is... That's not even close. Like, it's like as soon as it came out, first of all, you got the morons that just make the worst possible modes in the game. There were some cool ones, don't get me wrong. Like 128 player Rush on the Bad Company 2 maps was freaking cool.
Yeah, it was.
It was insane. Terrible gameplay, but it was fun. And that's part of what Battlefield is. Sometimes you just gotta say fuck it and do some insane stuff. But in a certain way, now everything's just a milsim or zombie server. And it's like, that's just not fun. And the featured modes, like, it shouldn't be this complex to come up with a funny...
Modes? Yeah, like, they said they were going to feature, like, community modes, and we only seen, like, 1 or 2 this whole time.
There's a Jack Frags one, a Stoddy one, and a Courage JD one, and that's been, like, the only ones.
Yeah, great. All the big people who already have all their money and clout, you know?
Yep.
So much for the community.
Yeah, what's a community? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is anymore.
I gotta say though, at least with how bad a lot of portal servers are, at least it makes my fighting against Nazis server feel original, even though it shouldn't.
It does sound original. I need to get in on that.
Let me know when you want to do it, because at least with crossplay, thank God for crossplay. At least we can actually do that, because right now I got it set. There was 2 versions I ran. I had 2014 versus 1942, and now I got 1991 versus 1942 to just emulate that classic thread. And I will say to Ripple Effect's credit, 2042 versus any other faction, using base weapon balancing is actually pretty decent. It's not really curb stomp. So
yeah.
Now when you have actual players, it's a whole different story. But at least against bots, it's balanced. So I don't really have it. I only have where the enemy team gets one more squad than the others, because otherwise it'd be a rout. But
okay.
I mean, I think that'll change though. If you and I get on and we get into an attack helicopter, I think that kind of will throw the match though. But
yeah, I think some ponage. Some ponage might happen.
Battlefield 3 attack helicopters. God, in 3 and 4 having the auto cannon, that was
my last ship didn't need a shuttle. Why do we have one?
Hard to use, but once you unlock the power, so that's the other thing. I know I'm going back to 2042, but
it's
God
fine.
damn it.
Look, there's no point. We fulfilled our quota of non-2042.
Yeah.
Let's just have our.
In previous Battlefield games, there was a sufficient power to skill ceiling ratio. Most things, they were pretty difficult to use, but when you figured out how to use them, they were very, very powerful. It's a very satisfying feeling as a player. 2042 is fuck it, just get in the bolt, easy 10 kills. Oh, fuck it, just get in the scout heli, easy 10, 15, 20 kills. It's too easy to use all that power, and it's not satisfying unless you're a brain dead goober, which is what half the players left are.
The thing is, it doesn't take that much work to make it so it's like Battlefield 4, because with the scout helicopter, all you have to do is just remove the rocket pods. You don't even have to touch the cannons, just remove the rocket pods and you fixed it, right?
Yep.
With the bolt, literally just take off the auto cannon. People will actually use the toe, right? That's why I grabbed the bolt, was to get the toe. You never. So it's these changes aren't even that difficult to make right now.
Well, also, I would say also take some of the health down, because I'm tired of getting run over by that damn thing.
Do you know why? It's because the maps have no cover. If you have cover, you have to maneuver around it. It automatically slows you down.
That's true.
But no,
yeah, well, it's kind of like the Staghound in BF5 that would zoom around. I definitely never got I get run over by the bolt in 2042.
Most of them I killed.
But, yeah, open concrete is not great map design.
People were defending the map design. I'm sorry, even from that little bit on Narvik, one of the worst Battlefield 5 maps, you could actually see the cover. Panzerstorm actually has cover, because I know people are saying oh, the hills and stuff are covered. Yeah, that's true. But the problem is the hills that are covered in Battlefield 2042 versus the hills that are covered in Battlefield 5. It's no. I honestly think part of the reason why the 2042 maps don't have that much coverage is a band-aid for the poor optimization.
Yeah, they can't have as many assets and detail to the maps, which again takes away from the experience and the personality and the atmosphere and the fun and the Battlefield feeling. And boy, I love all those commenters that tell me how 128 players is not an issue.
I mean, the thing with 20... Look... I'm not gonna say the map design, it really is terrible. Let's be honest, because... Look, you need cover in a first-person shooter. We'll look at the first sector of Orbital is literally for a radius of about 20 meters outside the building. There is no cover. It's just a run across open terrain. And that's supposed to be good map design?
Duh.
I mean...
It's the best map design. Why would you want cover?
Look, I know they wanted people to use the vehicles, which is good, but the problem is, by the inclusion of the bolt, no one's picking the transport. So, like they designed the maps where the same problem that Battlefield 5 had early on is that if everyone does exactly what they want the players to do, it'll play perfectly fine. But that's not how players are. Players are greedy. They're lazy. They're going to go for the cheap kills. They're going to go for the easy kills.
Yes. So don't give them easy kills.
Don't make your map reliant on them. Do not design your game to move around players being naturally altruistic. With Battlefield 5, they made it.
The dossier doesn't say if
Okir
Okir is on this planet by choice.
Battlefield 4, they have restricted
hostiles.
vehicle categories so things be balanced. I mean, the bolt should be moved to either the tank category or it should have the inner wound at a minimum.
Charming.
Right?
Stay focused. We're looking for a Krogan warlord.
Because here's the thing, people
I think
don't
the
use
cannon should be removed anyway.
the MAV, like that thing, like the transport, it is actually a really fantastic vehicle because one of the cool things of 24-2 is that they made the gunner positions on like transport vehicles viable, giving them tows and stuff, but no one uses them because the slots are taken up by bolts and Nightbirds. And even Nightbird has a spotting seat that no one uses. It's there's the thing that's frustrating with 24, it's like there's so much there that could work if you just made a few slight changes. It's not far away from having some of the good stuff in Battlefield, right? It's not far away at all. You could actually remove stuff and you'd get closer to it.
Heads up. Look out post ahead.
I don't know. I'm not really going to blame the developers. At least I'm not going to blame like the companies because a lot of this was really the fault of the patch. Because you know someone at EA was buffing up, not so many, someone that died was telling EA how advanced the game design was and how they didn't do more player testing because the results were already good. But
yeah. Well, apparently some of the stuff that they did, like with cosmetics especially, was they were told no over it, that like which ones weren't popular, and they still like the Santa Boris, and they still just fucking put it in there. Who cares? People don't like it, whatever. They'll like it. It'll be fine. I'm like, I don't know about that one, fellas. I don't know about that.
Look, they could keep the specialists as like elite characters, and just typical like soldiers who can customize like Battlefield 5.
Doesn't look that bad,
Right?
actually.
He doesn't need to know that.
I don't know.
I knew it wasn't berserkers.
There's a lot of good things that 24-2 can. It's not like they don't have a lot of things that work.
I'm not telling you anything.
It's
I've
just
got
in
a nice
such a bad
application
state
of
right now
Metagel
because
ready to go.
development was
But if
poorly
you'd rather I
managed.
just keep walking.
Son
And
of a bitch.
the device,
I
like the
I
personal
don't know
device have their
anything.
work cut out.
I just
for
shoot
them.
the
So, like,
overflow from the labs.
basically hopes and
The
prayers
old
to them
Krogan up
because
there,
they're going to need it. Right?
he's
And
really been cleaning
I feel
house
bad
lately.
for them because
Jador hired him to make her an army, but the
project
Krogan he
work,
creates are insane. So we use
They
them for
were
live ammo
overruled in
training.
a lot of
It's
cases
all
in
crap.
5, and they were probably
I don't get paid
not
enough to
given what they
goddamn
needed
bleed
for
out.
the flexibility or feedback they needed for 2042. Now, who's going to suffer for it? It's not going to be like the guy who made the bad
I
decision.
want your
It's gonna be
friends
the
gone.
workers.
Understand?
Yep.
Patrol,
I don't even
the
know.
last group dispersed.
You want to talk about
Last night,
something
5
else?
minutes ago.
Dispersed. Jador will be pissed.
I don't know, man.
I mean, we're
Ask
both
for a
like
report, you
on a
got it,
pseudo
dispersed.
Battlefield channel. And you're like a
Returning to the
you are a
labs.
main Battlefield channel. So
There,
it's hard for us
you
to not
see?
talk about it,
I'm helping.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
you know what? We do need to find some positive, even with 24-2. How about sometime in the future, you and I just get on and record video on like one of my Portal servers of just like blowing up Nazis with bolts and Nightbirds. Just
yeah.
If you start limping now,
Just
you
the
might find
potential
80%
Portal has.
bleed out.
you know
How to do Portal.
it's. I mean, I
scare
guess
was a
I
nice
think you
touch.
should go
I
through
thought
with your
so.
Portal
Come on.
video that you were
Our
talking
warlord
about
is somewhere in
because I
Jador's
know
lab.
even with how bad things are, Portal is still like a saving grace, and I think it doesn't get enough love, especially from DICE. So it needs to get some more love from the players.
Yeah. No, I think so too. It's just, man, it's hard to boot up 2042. It is really hard to look at it and be like, yeah, I want to play that. You know.
No.
But
Portal's probably. I mean, don't know.
It's something I want to do. I mean, yeah, Portal is fun. I ended up, before I really slowed down playing 2042, I did start playing like a lot of the BF3 Conquest of Ages type of thing, and that was fun. It's just there's really not that many players.
Yeah, that's because everyone. Dude, I bet if they added Battlefield 4 Portal, we would start singing praises of it. The Battlefield 4 Portal is just that strong.
The problem with that is it's all going to be more milsim dudes.
See, yeah, I mean, and honestly, talking to you about Portal, I might start playing Battlefield Portal more often just so I can actually give people another option, because milsim is fun if you actually enjoy that and other things. But
Mount that one, nice!
if half the servers are milsim and the other are XP farms, then I don't know, man. You've given me something to think about on my obligations to the rest of the 2042 players I should fulfill. Because like, the only milsim server I really like is Karma's milsim. But like he actually puts dozens of hours into refining it too. It's not like something tossed together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually got some thinking cells put into it.
I've tried to
Funny.
I don't know. One of the things at least to full spread, one of the things I kind of do on occasions, like some world building for stuff I write, and I've managed to recreate some of the military scenarios in Portal. Not perfectly, because you don't have control over cosmetics or factions, but just enough for the gameplay experience, and it works for that. But you know, if they had more multimedia integration with Portal, I think it would actually be a really good thing. But people could make like, I remember. Actually, I want to hold off on this talk because, like, the next time we should talk about Portal on, because I think there's a lot of things that could be worked on with that are worthwhile. But too much with this.
Enemy down!
Yeah.
I'm getting tired, dude. I'm sorry. How are you feeling?
I'm tired too. I worked most of the day, and yeah, it's been a.
I know how that is. I mean, when I was going to GSU, I was having 37 work weeks on top of my 17-hour classes, and I could post like on weeknights. I know the grind, man.
Yeah. Yeah, between work, you know, things going on in life, and trying to do YouTube and everything like that, it's been exhausting.
We gotta,
at least.
Yeah, gotta end on a good note. You know, we'll try to be optimistic of things. What's one good thing you would like to say about 2042? Either right the way it is right now, or the way it is likely to be in the near future. I know it's hard, but we gotta keep something just to brighten up the spirits, for our sake.
I think that despite 2042's shortcomings, if they get it on track, which is a huge if, a lot more people are going to be more willing to it than they ever were for a game like Battlefield 5. I think Battlefield 5 just limited some of its appeal due to the setting, but near future kind of modern, it just fits Battlefield, and if you do it right, people are going to love it. They just got to actually do it right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something I'm agreeing with. I guess what I would say is that I think even right now, Portal has a lot of useful tools for cool stuff. You just got to get encouragement to get people to actually use those tools better.
Yes.
But
totally agree.
You know, for the moment, I'm going to get my plane fixed through a Project Wingman. So, folks, JAWSGaming here for the third time talking about the real stuff. Always great to have you on, and I'm glad to find out that someone actually likes Interstellar as well, among the people I game with. And yeah,
great minds think alike, man.
I'll let you know when I can try to get that Battlefield 3 session going up the game journal, because, you know, glory days, who says they're always over, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get it up and running, we'll have some good rounds. Have a good time.
All right, folks, just to cap it off, JAWSGaming